The showdown coming your way on Saturday Night Footy on Grand.
Ready for some fun? The Melbourne International Comedy Festival is back, and it all began with the gala hosted by Luke McGregor.
Thanks for clapping when I came out. That means a lot.
With an all-star lineup.
We're all in this crazy mixed-up world together, though, aren't we? And now, thanks to unisex toilets, we actually are.
The Melbourne International Comedy Festival. The gala.
Excellent!
Stream it now on ABC iView.
ABC Sport.
This is ABC Sports coverage of the 2023 AFL Premiership season.
Hearts out to the right, steps on goal, superb finish.
Turns, whacks it straight through the middle. Pulls the trigger on goal and goes bang!
'Cause here it comes, here it comes.
AFL.
On ABC Radio, ABC Sport Digital, and now streaming on the ABC Listen app. Look for the AFL button.
Something big is coming, I know.
St Kilda are celebrating their 150th anniversary. Cole Langford believes his Dons have been handpicked to play their part in a broader St Kilda advertisement. They are here, the Dons, to crash the party tonight. Two unbeaten teams, both somewhat unexpectedly on the precipice of 3-0. It is the Saturday nighter, St Kilda up against Essendon with a big crowd in attendance. St Kilda celebrating their 150th anniversary. As mentioned, they've already elevated one of their former players to legend status in Bill Moore, their champion goal kicker from the 1930s, while Nick Del Santo and Lee Montagna have both been included in the Hall of Fame tonight. There's no late change for the footy in front of us. St Kilda and Essendon, the respective subs, Ben Patton for the Saints, and for the Bombers, it's Nick Hind. No late change, St Kilda and Essendon here at the G. It is another cold night, the temperature around 15 degrees and dropping, but no rain on the radar. My name's Corbin Middlemass, calling the footy with me. There's a familiar face. His name is Ben Cameron. Hello, Ben.
Hello, Corby. Good to be here. I mean, we have two clubs that were both on the coaching carousel throughout the off-season. Hard to believe that one of these sides will be 3-0 when the final siren sounds tonight. We've had all of the pomp and ceremony of the 150th anniversary for St Kilda. We had about three or so different renditions of their club song in different genres. And then some fireworks to celebrate, and a lot of their past champions out there on the ground to celebrate. So, as you said, Essendon are hoping to spoil the party.
Our grandstand AFL experts tonight. First of all, Luke Ball, a former Sainter himself, played in a grand final, of course, for St Kilda, and then famously played in one against the Saints. It's been a long history, not filled with success the whole way through, but still plenty to celebrate, Bally. How was it?
Yeah, thanks, Corb. Yeah, I was lucky enough to be invited along. You mentioned two of my old great mates, Nick Del Santo and Lee Montagna, rightfully inducted into the Hall of Fame. Two guys I got drafted with. I knew both of them right through junior footy as well. So was really chuffed to be asked to come along to that. So great function downstairs. They honoured the 66 team. And it was interesting. You mentioned the lack of success, and all the guys got up there and spoke really well that this club history, and it is famous history, hasn't been built on success, but there's just something about this club, and I think Neil Roberts even described it as a virus that once it gets in you, it's hard to shake. And obviously I ended up I guess the marriage broke down and I ended up finding another partner, but I had 8 wonderful and formative years at the Saints, so it certainly holds a special place in my heart as well.
If you're trying to work out how big an event it is, Tony Lockett's here, so that probably tells you.
Yep.
That probably tells you a little bit that it's a big enough event for him to attend. St Kilda's biggest home crowd at the MCG ever is 67,893, so they're hoping to try and break that tonight. They're right in the back row, particularly at the punt road end. Carlton champion, part of our team on Grandstand AFL, Mark Murphy's here. Hello, Murph.
G'day, Corby. G'day, Ben Bally. It's good to be here to watch the Saints celebrate their 150th year, and great to sit next to the great man, Luke Ball, to talk about his former club.
Good to rip you away from Albert Park as well. You've been spotted there just about every single day this week.
Oh, you know me, Corby. I do love my F1s, but couldn't get me away from coming here to the G with you two and Bally. So looking forward to a big night of football. Obviously, two clubs, 2-0, and who would have thought one of these could go 3 and zip?
Lauren Borden's on the boundary with us again tonight. Hello, Loz.
Hello, Corbin. It's just started raining, so right after you said no rain forecast, it started spitting, coming down
Good start,
harder. For all the fans in the back rows, 62,000 expected, so they might fall just short St Kilda. Callum Wilkie did win the toss for the Saints, stepping in for Jack Steele. They'll be kicking towards the City end to start this match tonight.
Thanks, Loz. The Saints and the Bombers, so party or party poopers as the Saints celebrate their 150th year on Grandstand AFL. You're with Ben Cameron.
Umpire Matt Stevic lays it down to get us underway. Both rucks go early. Marshall taps it down. Gresham onto the footy. Handball away to Windhager. To Ross. Out to Sinclair. Kick to the wing and Hill takes the mark. Saints with it on the Great Southern Stand wing. Kick towards half forward. Marshall takes the mark. The Saints at left half forward. He grubbers a kick, shanks it inside 50. Might work out. Higgins onto the footy, floats it towards goal. It's across the face, and the mark's taken. Burns goes up and brings it down on the behind line, and he'll be able to snap for the first.
Well, there's a few little mongrel punts there going forward. It's a very slippery little start to the game, but nice clean grab there from Burns. Is good.
Wants to go on the left foot, snaps on goal and hits the woodwork. Straight into the post, closest to him. A behind to start for the Saints through the opening 55 seconds.
Looking forward to the Marshall Draper matchup. Marshall terrific last week against another young gun ruck. Was in the votes. He's going to play a big role tonight through that midfield if they're to win the Saints.
Redmond short kick out to Laverty, hands it back to Redmond. Short kick to Langford, spills it, drops it at half back, put himself under the pump. Hand pass for Essendon, but a throw, said the umpire. Gee, Langford didn't get it out clean and a free kick for the Saints.
Good decision.
And now 50. Gee, Mason Wood awarded the free kick for the tackle, and then Bawley just some extended conversation in which Cole Langford was asked to be more constructive with his feedback, and Mason Wood starts the party as he bangs it through from the goal line. St Kilda 1-1-7, Essendon yet to score. We're 2 minutes in on Grandstand AFL. Mark Murphy and Luke Ball.
Well, a week's a long time, isn't it? Footy, the hero last week, Cole Langford kicking 5 and getting the Dons over the line last week. Just took his eyes off the ball, really. You got to watch it right in, Murph. Obviously, in these conditions, the 1%er's got to do the basics really well, and it's a sloppy start. And the umpire was right onto it. It was an incorrect disposal, so 2 mistakes in a row. And then I didn't quite see what the 50-metre penalty was for, but it just kills you. And I didn't like either, Murph. Mason Wood was allowed to run down to the goal line and kick it through, at least making kick over some hands. That's not a great sign for the Bombers, to be honest.
The little thing sometimes.
Yeah, that's right. Brad Scott will want to address that straight away.
So like all parties should, it begins with a gift. Back in the middle, Draper can't quite get a tap out. Gresham onto the footy, sweeps a handball forward. Now picking it up, Setterfield for the Dons. Handball away to Perkins, back to Kelly, who kicks around the wing towards half forward. Coming out, unable to take the mark, Wiedemann. Perkins again gives it off to Merritt. Kick inside 50 for the Dons. It bounces through to the back. And there to mop up Burns for the Saints. He kicks laterally, a good kick. He spots up Ross.
Ross, cousin of Joe Watson, of course, nephew of Tim, grew up an Essendon supporter, heads down the wing as he finds Gresham, who takes the mark and moves it on immediately to half forward. Kelly floats through to take the intercept mark for Essendon. The Bombers in their clash strip, predominantly red jumper, just with the black outline of the famous red sash and the white shorts. As the Bombers across the back line, Ridley at centre-half back to McGrath, who goes on a run, arches the back, burns off Phillippo as he kicks down to half-forward. There's Stringer, a little fumble, and he's helped out a play. Oh, and in the end, inadvertently socket out on the fall off the boot of Liam Stocker. So Stringer will get an easy kick as he puts it at the top of the goal square. Wiedemann had hands to it, no mark. Pack forms around him. Umpire circles, Crouch sits over the top. Still they let them go. Eventually the Dons get it out. Caldwell jams it on the boot, floats one goalward. Durham down there on the behind line, whacked away in defence by Wood. To Wanganeen Millerer, back to Wood, and he hands it to the back pocket for Sinclair.
The reigning best and fairest kicks long out of the D50 and turns it over. Mark taken by Redmond. All 3 Brownlow votes in the last meeting between these two sides. Comes inboard with his kick. Spots up Kelly, who gives it off to Shield, running by, sweeps a handball to Merritt, can't quite get his kick away as he's run down, squeezes the kick out, and the mark taken by Burns. So the Saints with it back, 40 metres out from his defensive goal. He waits a kick for Wanganeen Millera, who sweeps a handball over the top to Windhager. Now the Saints are out. Down the members' wing. Gresham in a paddock. Takes a couple of bounces. Crosses the 50. Eyes the goals. It's across the face. And getting back, Langford gets a fist on it. Close to the line. It's knocked through or socketed through in the end for a minor score. St Kilda 1-2-8. Essendon yet to score. 5 minutes played.
Good pressure and tackling there from the Saints on turnover. Just quick transition like we saw last week. They're really quick to realise a turnover and get hard forward. And on that case, it was Jay Gresham getting hard forward and delivering inside 50.
Redmond on the kick out, goes short to McGrath. He heads wide out the halfback for Ridley. We've had to bombard you with some numbers here. Murph and Bawley. St Kilda allow the most marks in the competition through the first 2 weeks, but the fewest metres gained per disposal.
Yeah, and this is it here. The hallmark of their first 2 weeks is their team defence, and we know we've spoken about the influence of Ross Lyon, Murph, their ability to play that full press zone. A lot more challenging at the MCG.
Merritt from centre half back heads to the wing. Kelly gives it to Shealy. Kicks down to half forward. Jones leaps no mark. Falls down to Stocker. Saints with it. Ross by hand to Burns. He gives it to Crouch. Hand pass out to Webster. Slips over. Off his knees. Hand pass back to Crouch. He retreats by hand to Battle, who kicks it down the wing.
Battle around that wing. Owens goes up. Can't quite take the mark. There'll be a free kick. Hill wants to take the advantage for the Saints. Bouncing ball on the handball. Picking it up. Gresham pulls his kick. And Langford's there. He takes the defensive mark for the Dons in the left back pocket.
Here's a man, Carl Langford, who kicked 5 last week and started in defence already.
Langford kicks beyond defensive 50. Rain falling here at the MCG. No mark taken. Going in Redmond. Or Harry Jones rather. Knocks it out. McGrath able to gather for the Dons. Handball to Heppel. Now Redmond dumps it on his boot. Kicks in the Draper direction. Battle gets a fist in. Coming the other way, Martin. Loose footy on the wing. Picked up by Dougal Howard for the Saints. And now they're off through the middle of the ground.
Clark, hand pass away to Crouch. He gives it back to Clark over halfway. Shanks the kick. Slips through to Gresham. Clean pick up. Centre half forward. Hand pass to Hill. Pokes it out in front of Caminiti. One-on-one with Redmond. G. Redmond tackled him without the footy. Free kick for Caminiti in the left forward pocket. Oh, the ball's just been thrown back to him by Redmond with force, and the same thing happens again. Caminiti walks it in for an easy goal. 2 50-metre penalties. The Bombers don't stand the mark on either occasion. And the Saints with 2 of the easiest goals they'll ever kick in 150 years to start the game. 7 minutes into the contest, St Kilda 2-2. Danger signs for the Bombers, yet to score.
Paulie, I dare say if Scott was to get the team in right now, there'd be a fair bake to this entire side at the moment. Really, it's obviously highlighted when it's D50 deep, but they're just not thinking and just being really ill-disciplined at the moment. And then once that has occurred, they've given away 2 simple free kicks, and then 50s as a result, and then haven't gone on to try and man the mark. It's a really disappointing start.
Yeah, he's had a super couple of years, Mason Redmond, but that's a brain fade. The free kick was clearly there, and I think you're right. To me, it's a mindset, and it's a clear mindset at the moment of the Saints. They're playing on at all costs. They're taking risks. They're going forward. And for the Bombers, silly mistakes that have cost them early goals.
From the restart, clearing kick coming from Marshall, out towards half forward for the Saints. Owens in pursuit of the ball. Gathers, handball too hot for Butler, out of play it goes. We'll get a throw in between wing and right half forward for the Saints.
It's really interesting, isn't it, that Kyle Langford can kick 5 last week and be the match winner, and Wiedemann comes back into the team. Okay, understand that, but Langford pushes back to half back. It's a really interesting tactical move, I guess, from the coach.
Eric Banner in the house, winning the tap down is Marshall, but Parrish sharks it, gives it off to Draper, who kicks the Dons to half forward. Battles there. Intercept mark. The Saints with it at centre half back.
Swings the kick out to Mason Wood, who marks on that Shane Warne stand side of the ground. Southern side goes short with the kick to Butler. Saints moving it forward. Puts his kick inside 50. Marshall, contested grab, juggled effort, got it. Leading out, marking in front of Laverty. And Rowan is going to take his best effort with the greasy footy as the rain continues to fall. I watched him tell me 0% chance of rain, so Apple can expect to hear from my lawyers as starting their suit.
You can never go 0, can you? Melbourne Court. You've got to allow yourself a little bit of wiggle room, don't you?
That's a trick for young players.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Good mark, though, from Marshall in these conditions. Just protected the ball with his body and took it on the third grab.
Hasn't kicked one so far this year. Going it alone, of course, without Paddy Ryder. The prospect Marshall, he loads up but misses near side. Of course, Paddy Ryder involved at Essendon now as part of their development crew, so he's watching on. Back in the red and black, of course, one of the 3 clubs he played for. St Kilda with the first 5 scores, 2-3. Essendon yet to get on the board after 10 minutes.
Redmond short to D'Ambrosio, who goes short again to Laverty. Essendon at right half back. A long kick towards the logo on the wing. And going up, Marshall takes a strong mark for the Saints. Kicks them towards half forward, and they're out here. Cordy marks, 52 out. Eyes the goals or a teammate in the goal square, and the mark's taken. Owens has got it deep on the goal line. And the Saints are on the march to start their anniversary evening here at the MCG. The first 3 goals inside 10 minutes. 3-3-21. Essendon have not looked like it. No score. Luke Ball and Mark Murphy.
Alarm bells, yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's a slow play, Murph.
Yeah.
So that's a slow play, long kick out of defence. Mark on the wing.
Yeah.
And they've been able to come inside on the 45 with a 40-metre kick to a free player in Zane Cordy, who's bobbed up out of the sprinkler. And then another kick to a free player over the top. So some real alarm bells already for the Bombers, and the Saints are just working harder. We saw it last week. We know that they've got some real runners that are in good form and playing well. They're just working harder than the Bombers at the moment.
They're working harder, but they're also just being smarter. They're realising that there's got to be an intercept, and there's no point being in a silly position when you're going to win the ball back. You may as well get dangerous.
Back in the middle of the ground, Wiedemann thrown into the ruck. He's outpointed here by Marshall, who wins it down, but Merritt gets the centre break, kicks straight to Wanganeen Miller off half-back. Hand pass to Clark, flares it out wide by hand to Sinclair. He just gives a hand pass to Ross. Short kick to Windhager, who takes the mark. Southern side, he wants to move it on too. Hand pass away to Wood, heads inside 50. Owens in the box seat, free kick. Ridley over his shoulder. And this has a whiff about it already for the Bombers. Mitch Owens a chance to kick his second.
Well, perhaps not much in the free kick there against Jordan Ridley, but it just shows just the rewarding the way the Saints are playing. It doesn't matter the name that's in the jumper, does it? I mean, there's got a lot of talk about who's not out there. When they're playing in this mode, you can see the automatic play on from half forward, overlap run, getting the forwards one-on-one into space, sometimes draws the free kick from the defender.
Mitch Owens for back-to-back goals. His drop punt is out to the right and he misses. 3-4, Essendon yet to score. First 22 points for the Saints after 12 minutes. First 12 points for Port Adelaide in the showdown, so early doors there. Port Adelaide 2 straight. The Crows yet to score. No late change. We'll keep you updated throughout the night.
Langford brings it back in for the Saints, for the Dons, wants to head towards the members' wing. It's knocked out for the Saints there by Marshall. We'll get a throw in.
A lot of talk about the Bombers' leadership over the off-season, Murph. Really good, or really probably the first real test for them now in the first 3 games.
It is. You just want to see your leaders get their hands on the footy now and just really stem the flow and get momentum back on your side.
Wiedemann doing the ruck work. Marshall brings it down. Emerging with the football, Clark for the Saints. High left-footed kick inside attacking 50. Getting back, Ridley drops the mark. Gresham going after it close to the boundary line. He soccers it back to a dangerous position. The umpire says it was out. Right as Higgins was about to swoop. We'll get a throw in, right forward pocket here for the Saints, who have done all of the early attacking. They've kicked the first 3 majors. They lead by 22 points.
Jay Gresham up to 5 disposals so far, looking very dangerous. I think someone in the Essendon jumper needs to get somewhere near him.
Boundary throw in, a little shallow, spills to Filippo, hand pass away to Higgins, clever kick, across the forward 50 and Butler marks. Back in the corridor, he's about 35 out, dead in front.
Well, it was a quick kick out of the stoppage, so you can understand sometimes if you're left flat-footed, but when you're in that position on the ground and you're playing full back, you need to have an arm across and trying to push you forward into a position that you don't want him to be in. So they're just looking lazy at the moment.
Well, I'm going to call it. That was Kyle Langford again. He had a 15-metre ski rope on Dan Butler, who's going to have a lot of pace on him. It's a strange decision for mine to have Kyle Langford starting back.
Butler skips in, pokes for his first goal of the year, and the Saints have the first 4. Oh boy. Right start for St Kilda. And then milestone night for Essendon. They haven't got a single point to show for the first 14 minutes. St Kilda 4-4-28. Essendon yet to hit the board. Mark Murphy and Luke Ball on Grandstand AFL.
So, yeah, Murph, a forward 50 stoppage. That's red alert time for your back 6, isn't it? And if you're playing on a dangerous forward like Dan Butler, you want to know where he is. You've got to get some arm across him, just in case the ball spills out or a quick kick comes out like it did then. It was a 25-metre quick snap out of the pack, and he marked it uncontested on his chest, 30 metres out directly in front of goal.
And there's alarm bells because I was talking about Jade Gresham getting a lot of the ball already so far, and it was 4:50 stoppage there, and he's probably the most dangerous of the St Kilda forwards and midfielders, and no one was near him.
Umpire puts it aloft in the middle. Wiedemann wins the tap. It ricochets away to Parrish. Snaps the Dons towards half forward. Trying to pick it up. Heppel flicks out a handball to Caldwell. Now Setterfield goes long towards the pocket. Coming out Wilkie, brings it down in front. Battle wins it in front of him, gives a handball back to Wilkie. Stringer applies the tackle. The Dons come up with it. Martin in a phone box. Wheels around. Hooks it back to the hot spot. Looking for Jones. Can't quite take the mark. Ross robes it for the Saints. And they handball it out of their defensive 50.
Higgins goes running away and then kicks in hope out towards that southern wing. Gresham out there. Langford flies. He'll get a free kick. He got some contact in the air. I don't know where the Bronx cheer's coming from for the Bombers. There's a lot of problems of their own doing as Langford heads out to Davey Jr. Collects. Hand pass goes back to Martin. Sends it down to half forward. Strong grab. Jones out wide at right half forward. 52 out but against the fence. Southern side. And he goes back and across to Redmond. Saints with the first 28 points. 4 goals to zip. Lays it up inside the forward 50. Arriving late. Wilkie picks it off and takes the intercept mark to St Kilda.
It's got to come to ground.
Back.
Yeah, it's just got to come to ground. Big Sam Wiedemann. You just got to compete there and bring it to ground.
Mason Wood kicks around the southern stand wing and puts it out of bounds on the full. Appropriate tonight of all nights. A Shane Warne stand. As the Dons get it back on the wing. Langford comes infield, finds Ridley. Ridley kicks laterally. D'Ambrosio goes for a little canter. On the logo, drives a low ball inside 50 and onto the chest of Wilkie again. So the Saints get it back inside their defensive 50 and they're repelling everything at the moment. 4-4-28 to no score through the opening 16 and a half minutes.
Wilkie out wide to Burns, takes a contested mark in front of Shield. You would have had Warney in the rooms on occasions, Bally, pre-game, post-game?
Yeah, it's Warne. You mentioned Eric Banner. Molly Meldrum was down there at the function as well.
Burns goes all the way back to Howard. Howard comes out of the defensive arc to Wanganeen Millera. He marks and swings his kick all the way out to Wood, who's against the boundary line southern side. Pokes his pass to Owens. Direct opponent Kelly slipped over. Owens calmly collects. Hand pass back to Wood. Keeps on running. Inside 50. Higgins takes the mark. D'Ambrosio went through in front trying to spoil. Didn't get a touch on it. And Higgins can shoot 45 out left half forward.
I understand in this day and age you try and protect space and you try and zone, but there's times where you've just got to get somebody on, and at the moment the Essendon defence are just not willing to get that body on. Yes, protect some space, but at the same time it's try and move your opponent away from where he wants to go.
Lifelong St Kilda fan Jack Higgins pops through their fifth. First 5 of the game for the Saints. For the second week running, they open the contest with the first 5. 5-4-34, Essendon yet to score. 18 minutes in on Grandstand AFL before Luke Ball and Mark Murphy down to the boundary. Lauren Borden.
There's probably no one more disappointed than Zach Merritt. He was off on the bench for 5 minutes, didn't sit down the whole time, and you could see him gesture to an interchange Stewart saying 2, talking about those 2 50-metre penalties. So he's going back on now to try and stem this flow from the Saints.
Well, that's been a part of it, but it's been a massacre really all over the ground. Contests, plus 13 already contested balls, so not hard enough inside the Bombers. And then on the outside, plus 15. So not working hard enough out into space. And I thought that might be where they tested the Saints, who've been used to play on that tighter ground, Murph, but we're seeing the Saints run and leg speed really tearing the Bombers up in this first 20 minutes.
Draper reaches over the top to win the tap, but the Saints come away with it. Sinclair, handball away to Ross. He's tackled as he kicks and just dribbles away, picking it up Draper. Handball away to Shield. Handball to D'Ambrosio, and now Martin through the logo, kicks inside attacking 50 for the Dons. No one can mark it, bouncing ball, gathering and snapping and missing. There is Perkins, a behind. First score of the night for Essendon. 5-4-34, plays 1 behind through 19 minutes.
Wanganeen Miller on the kick out, finds Howard, goes short to Wilkie, and short kicking game. All of a sudden they're out of the defensive arc, St Kilda. Crouch marks. Lead change in the showdown. Adelaide in front, 2-1 to 2 straight. They're about 5 minutes behind us, still in the first quarter over in Adelaide. Long kick to Hill. Hand pass releases. Sinclair kicks inside 50. Caminiti slips over. And Ridley able to take an easy intercept mark for Essendon in the back pocket. Across the goal face to D'Ambrosio, comes out of the defensive 50, and Kelly marks against the Essendon race at left half back. Saints by 33 points, approaching time on opening quarter.
Kelly stabs a short kick, looking for Davey Jr., who comes up and takes the mark for the Dons. Parrish sweeps a handball forward. Now Martin, he'll kick forward of the wing, bouncing ball, gathered there by Jones, who gives it off in turn to Menzie. Menzie looks towards full forward for the Dons. No mark taken. Shield bursts through, gathers. Handball away, the Saints swoop. And they gather the footy. Wood away to Butler, who kicks to grass on the wing.
Hunt on for it. Cordy and Laverty both there. Cordy a fraction late, lays the tackle. Laverty taken to ground and a ball up. Good contest out on that southern wing.
That's good ball movement for the first time for the Bombers. They're able to work the ball from back to forward 50 with some real energy on it.
Draper down to Merritt, hand pass to Parrish. They get the clearance, kicks to Stringer, no mark, spills to Jones, still with Essendon, centre half forward. Caldwell, hand pass to Martin, kicks nice across the half forward line, and Perkins hugs it to his chest. Right half forward, 40 out.
Well, he won't get a stat for that, Jakey Stringer, but he caused a contest, and he fought through his own contest and made an impact on the next man, which brought the ball to ground, and now it results in a set shot.
Yeah, it's a great call. 14 intercept possessions already to the Saints, and the acting skipper's been right in the game. So, yeah, good call. Bring the ball to ground. Let these smaller players, Davey, Perkins, Martin, who's a great decision maker, we know that, get to work.
The 21-year-old Essendon's blue chipper, Archie Perkins, goes back and pops it through. That's what you get for not reading the invite. The Bombers unfashionably late, but finally have arrived. 22 minutes in, Essendon 1-1-7, St Kilda 5-4-34, Saints by 27.
The last couple of minutes have been a little bit more encouraging, Bully. I think their ball use has started to look a little bit sharper. There've been a few good contests where they've held the ball up and haven't allowed St Kilda to transition, which they have been doing really quite well and quite easily so far in this game. And then I mentioned Jakey Stringer just causing a contest, and it was great seeing a few of the Essendon teammates get around and acknowledge the little support effort there by Jakey.
In the showdown, Adelaide 3-1, Port Adelaide 2-1. 6-point lead for the Crows. There's no late change there, as there wasn't here at the G. Saints by 27.
Marshall hooks it down, but Parrish steals it, kicks the Dons inside, attacking 50, coming out, unable to take the mark, Wiedemann. They pile on at ground level. And a ball up 45 metres out from the Dons attacking goal.
You'd love it if you're marking that, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Sam Wiedemann, it's going to be a tough night for key forwards, we know. He needs to take those chances.
Marshall wins the tap down. Here's Davey Jr. emerging from the pack. His snap on goal is across the face. It tumbles out, throwing inside the attacking 50. Now for Essendon.
He's exciting, isn't he?
Yeah.
Already a couple of really good chase and pressures as well, so we know he can do it on the other side of the ball. But, he's an exciting young player.
Go on, Ben.
Cut a swathe through them there.
27-point lead for the Saints. Winning it down, Wiedemann to Caldwell. He hooks it back over his shoulder, kicks it out on the full.
You love seeing these young guys who don't just get the ball and throw it on the boot. They take them on, bit of confidence, bit of excitement. You love seeing it.
Wilkie from one back pocket to the other, to Howard. St Kilda trying to work it out of the defensive arc. Short kick to Stocker. His old team had a win this afternoon. Carlton coming from behind to defeat GWS by 10. And in the afternoon slot, Sam Mitchell over Alistair Clarkson, a 19-point win for the Hawks. Stocker out of defensive 50 to Clark. He kicks down the wing, and Gresham marks for St Kilda right on halfway.
Gresham chips it short for Hill. Now forward of the wing, the Saints. Hill will just set it up inside attacking 50. Run and jump at it from Marshall. Can't quite take the mark at the back. Wood gathers on the bounce. He's quickly wrapped up. Ball up 45 metres out from the attacking goal for the Saints. Draper tries to spike it out of there. Hill sticks a boot out at it. Windhager picks it up. Patton will kick into the pocket, trying to find a target there. Caminiti. Laverty outpoints him. He has it in the left back pocket for the Dons.
Corbin Middlemass, Ben Cameron, Luke Ball, Mark Murphy and Lauren Borden, your call team tonight on ABC Sport. There's a 50 here against the Saints. I missed exactly what that was for.
I think it was for moving off the mark too late, which is weird.
Old Stanley rule. As Laverty comes out wide to Dyson Heppel. Subbed out last week in the starting 22 tonight. That is not a great kick. Just butchers it, kicks it straight to Burns, who takes the intercept mark at half back.
Just tried to kick it off one step and a bit slippery out there. You've got to get a bit of momentum through it.
Burns goes short to Sinclair. Got some feedback from Brett Delidio on his kicking last week. Did Dyson Heppel as Sinclair goes short. Can't quite find his target there in Clark. There to mop up though is Hill. Handball back to Burns, who gives it off to Sinclair. Kicks around the wing. Free kick. Push out. It's going to go the way of Heppel.
If you weren't with us last week, Brett was pondering us after 8 early touches in the third quarter how you could be subbed out. And then he just followed up by saying that's what happens when you butcher it.
Had the meat cleavers out, you reckon?
Yes. So Essendon with it. The Heppel free kick. He kicks around the members' wing. Coming up, Wilkie. Takes another defensive mark for St Kilda. They'll have it back at right half back.
Game number 88 for Cal Wilkie. All of them in succession as he heads down to half forward. Here's Owens, collects, slips over, stands back up with a footy, pumps it into the pocket. And Langford is back marking in front of the behind post. So, as the guys have touched on already, 5 up front last week in defence tonight. Goes short to Andy McGrath. St Kilda by 27. They kick the first 5 goals of the game. As we tick towards quarter time, McGrath long down the line. Wiedemann trying to move some people around, and in the end it slips out of bounds.
We'll talk about that at quarter time. I mean, it's not like Sam Wiedemann comes, but it's not like Wayne Carey coming back to the forward line. You've got to clear room, make room for him. This isn't a really powerful Bombers forward line. That it's a curious one that we might talk about a bit more.
He's probably shown enough already to go up forward, I would have thought.
Yeah, as well. Yeah.
Draper down to Parrish.
Down there.
And the throw in, but Hill steals the ball, tries to get a handball away. Umpires say play on. Hill knocks it towards the boundary line. Davey Jr. comes up. There was a free kick in amongst it all. The free kick is going to go to Brad Crouch. Chips St Kilda towards half forward. Windhager takes the mark. Hill will run around the back. Look out! Davey Jr. ran him down, holding the ball. Like father, like son. Great defensive pressure from this rookie. And Essendon need a little more of that.
One of 6 teenagers on the ground, 2 of them for the Bombers. As Davey Jr. kicks down the wing, or slipping over is Setterfield, lands in the lap of Gresham. Hand pass to Clark, gives it to Marshall. Hurried kick inside 50. Back pedaling, Kelly will be the first one there. Gets to it in the back pocket. Kicks out of the defensive arc. Gee, the kick favours Mason Wood. Now a bit of work to do for Menzies. Pushes Wood off the footy. Wins the one-on-one. Hand pass for Essendon. Got it forward to Sammy Durham. Nothing up ahead. Just touches it on the turf. Closed down by Sinclair. Good tackle. Hand pass back inboard to Menzies. Essendon trying to buy some time. Shares it with Langford. Kicks down the southern boundary line. And Harry Jones marks between wing and half forward. 5 goals to 1. Saints by 27 approaching quarter time.
Jones just winds up a long kick towards the pocket, trying to reach up Draper, can't take the mark. Martin's there though, quick kick back into the corridor. It spills out. A flying shot. Is there a free kick in amongst all of this? No, Wilkie will take the defensive mark anyway. At fullback for St Kilda, another one for him.
Forgiven for thinking so though, Ben Menzies after kicking that just threw his head back in disgust, didn't quite connect. Burns goes on a run, Burns off 2 would-be tacklers, hits up Marshall in the middle. Saints a chance here with seconds ticking down in the opening term. Hits up Gresham, middle of the G, trying to get around Durham. Hand pass to Wanganeen Millerer. That'll do us. St Kilda about to run another one in as he flares it out to Mason Wood at high half forward. And a bright start for St Kilda. Celebrating their 150th anniversary tonight. They kicked the first 5 goals of the ball game. The Saints 5-4-34. Essendon 1-1-7. Late arrivers here tonight. St Kilda by 27 at quarter time. Meanwhile, the goal kickers. That's what we're doing next. Owens, Butler, Higgins, Wood and Caminiti, all with 1 each for the Saints. And Archie Perkins has the goal for Essendon. The showdown 7 minutes before quarter time in Adelaide. It's the Crows who lead it 4-1 over Port Adelaide 3-1. So a 6-point lead for Adelaide there. The SMS number tonight, 0437 774 774. Mark in Mentone. How would you rate the effort and attitude between the Saints and the Bombers? 100% being the measure. It's from Marky Mentone. It's probably one for Luke Ball and Mark Murphy. We'll get their thoughts next on Grandstand AFL on ABC Radio, Sport Digital, and now streaming through the ABC Listen app. Just look out for the ABC AFL button. This is Grandstand AFL.
What's the best thing in the world that's also on the ABC Listen app? The footy! This season, get your footy live and ad-free on the ABC Listen app.
Right through for a goal.
AFL, NRL, men's, women's. Whatever you fix, we've got you covered.
She's got it. Bye-bye. See you later.
Every goal, try, mark and tackle. Called by ABC Sports' expert commentary team.
Set. Bingo.
AFL and NRL, live and ad-free. Get it on the ABC Listen app.
Grandstand AFL.
Now streaming every match on the ABC Listen app.
Look for the AFL button.
Langford spills it, drops it at half-back, put himself under the pump. Hand pass for Essendon, got a throw, said the umpire. Gee, Langford didn't get it out clean and a free kick for the Saints. And now 50, and Mason Wood starts to party as he bangs it through from the goal line.
Takes a strong mark for the Saints, kicks them towards half-forward, and they're out here. 40 marks, 52 out, eyes the goals or a teammate in the goal square, and the mark's taken. Owens has got it deep on the goal line, and the Saints are on the march to start their anniversary evening here at the MCG. The first 3 goals inside 10 minutes.
Down to throw in a little shallow, spills to Filippo, hand pass away to Higgins, clever kick, across the forward 50 and Butler marks. Back in the corridor, he's about 35 out, dead in front. Butler skips in, pokes for his first goal of the year. And the Saints have the first 4. Owens calmly collects, hand pass back to Wood, keeps on running, inside 50, Higgins takes the mark. Lifelong St Kilda fan, Jack Higgins pops through their fit. First 5 of the game for the Saints. Caldwell, hand pass to Martin, kicks across the half-forward line, and Perkins hugs it to his chest. Right half-forward, 40 out. The 21-year-old Essendon's blue chipper, Archie Perkins, goes back and pops it through. That's what you get for not reading the invite. The Bombers unfashionably late, but finally have arrived.
The 2023 AFL season.
On radio,
ABC Sport Digital.
and now streaming on the ABC Listen app.
Sounds of the opening term, Corbin Middlemass and Ben Cameron. On the boundary line is Lauren Borden. Our Grandstand AFL experts, Luke Ball and Mark Murphy. Off the SMS tonight, here's just a little twist for your Saturday night. So 0437 774 774. Who is your favourite all-time St Kilda player and why? Obviously celebrating their 150th anniversary. Doesn't have to be the greatest player in the history of the club, but your favourite St Kilda player. So 0437 774 774. I'll give Bawley and Murphy a bit of time to think about theirs as well. So before we check in with the team, but here's their take on that first quarter. The Saints lead it by 27.
Well, let's respond to that SMS before the break there, Murph. I think from a Saints point of view, they've carried through that effort from the first 2 rounds,
Yep.
and it's been terrific. And,
Yep.
and I know that we spoke after last week's game that the Ross Lyon teams really, it is about that 100% effort, and you can see it. And we spoke about the numbers halfway through that quarter. It's reflected in that. Their ability to go in and win the contested footy has been a lot stronger than the Bombers as well. But then what's more concerning from the Bombers is then their ability to get outside them and work harder and their uncontested footy. The Bombers defensively have just been poor. They've just been off. Now, everyone makes mistakes. We know that. But turning one mistake into 2 and 3, not getting someone on the goal line to at least have someone on the mark to kick goals. So for that to happen twice is really concerning early in the first quarter. But 40 marks for the Saints and 37 of those uncontested. That's a real concern. You're on track there for a decent hiding, I think. So plenty for Brad and his team to address at quarter time. From the Bombers' point of view, there was a few individuals that started to turn it a little bit. We mentioned young Davey setting the tone with some of his chasing efforts. But too much to too few at the moment. From the Saints' point of view, as I said, they've carried on that form. Their running is really there to see. They're attacking. They're playing on at all costs. Young Burns has been terrific up and back in some of his efforts as well. So really good signs early from the Saints.
It has been, and I think putting it there for the fans. If you're an Essendon fan, you're looking at the team at the moment like they're not trying. It's a lack of effort. They look flat-footed. It looks like they're not thinking about their game at the moment. They're just expecting that what they've been able to do over the first 2 weeks of the season was just going to roll on. And you just can't do that in AFL at any point, especially these days, because you just get just get torched, basically. And the Saints have turned up and have been fantastic in all areas of the game. Essendon started to claw back a little bit of momentum late in that quarter, but they were just left completely flat-footed at the start of the game.
It's what the old Ross Lyon quote that Brendan Goddard always rolls out.
There's trying and there's really trying.
There's trying and there's really trying. And I'm not sure that was really trying from the Bombers in that first term.
Yeah, and they're fit. And again, we've heard the noises come out of the Saints that they're going to be a blue-collar team. There's talent out. There's A-grade talent out. They don't have a heap of it, which I think is a bit overplayed, to be honest. But what they are is they're fit. They're running hard. You look at Wood, look at Hill, look at Sinclair, look at Burns, and they're running rings around the Bombers at the moment.
Yep. We'll discuss our favourite St Kilda player at half-time, perhaps.
Yes, there's a few rolling in already off the SMS. 0437 774 774. Your favourite St Kilda player and why? Saints by 27. Second term underway. Draper wins the hit out for Essendon. Shield off the square. Can't pick it up clean. Sinclair off the deck. Taps it out to Gresham and then he's tackled immediately. So a ball up again inside the centre square. Up it goes. Draper swats it forward. Here's Caldwell trying to break 2 tackles. In the end, the ball bobbles out to Burns' advantage. Kicks St Kilda to the middle of the ground. Kelly got his fist onto it. Spills to the wing for Butler. Sockers it forward once. Has a second go. Bowled over in the end by Ridley. Trying to sit on top of the footy. Bombers get it out back door through Merritt. Hand pass to McGrath to Parrish. All their prime movers involved. And he flares it wide to Martin in front of the interchange.
Stabs a pass to a leading Wiedemann. Up at half forward. Goes laterally and further out wide to Parrish, who now tries to go inside 50 and coming across. Ross puts his fist through it, sends it out of play into the seats. A throw-in.
Off the SMS, Christine says Robert Harvey. Of course, back at St Kilda, the famous number 35, now worn by an All-Australian in Jack Sinclair. Kim and Latrobe, the Saints' Nicky Winmar. The celebration and display of his Aboriginality will be admired and respected forever from Kim.
Here tonight too, Nicky.
Saints get the clearance. Wood dumps it on the boot, kicks towards the wing, bouncing ball. Owens trying to gather it. It's taken out of play. Under the tackle from Ridley, we'll get a throw in.
Now, Rod and Capel in WA, when I first read this, I thought, oh, what a suck up, where he says, my favourite Saint of all time is Luke Ball. And then it goes on to say, because he ended up a champion pie.
Brilliant.
0437 774 774. Your favourite Sainter of all time from the boundary throw-in. Essendon win it at the coalface as Martin hand pass to Shield. He does a full 360 and kicks inside 50. Carries the pack. Jones just knocks it down to Perkins, forward pocket. Hooks the kick back to the teeth of goal. Hands on it from Wilkie. No mark. Spills down to Wiedemann. Hand pass back into dispute. Oh, fresh air shot from Perkins. Didn't quite connect. Trying to just volley it through from 15 out. And in the end, it's helped out of play by Wanganeen Miller illegally. And not enough intent to keep that in. And a free kick for Jake Stringer in front of the St Kilda Race right forward pocket.
It's a little bit too much juice on the pad out in front, wasn't it? If it had been about a metre closer to him,
and unfortunately, the umpire was about 5 yards away.
Well, Ken Stringer set them alight here.
Stringer, outside right boot, hasn't got it. Kicks it from one forward pocket to the other and puts it out of bounds on the full. No change to that score. St Kilda by 27, early doors, second term.
Wilkie to have the kick here for St Kilda on his left leg. Goes long beyond the defensive 50. Draper's in best position and drags in the mark. Sammy Draper.
This is the man that really needs to spark him. You just feel that they all lift when he gets involved in the game.
Draper goes high, back from where it came, towards the pocket, off hands. It spills out the back, tumbles out. And we'll get a throw in alongside the left-hand behind post in the forward pocket for the Dons. We've certainly started this second term better than they started the first. St Kilda kicked the first 5 goals of the match. They lead 5-4-34 to 1-1-7. 3.5 played in the second term.
Forward pocket, Essendon, City end of the ground. Wiedemann wins it down. Stringer shoots, kick smothered. Nice work by Marshall. Ball spits back out to Perkins. Tackled immediately by Clark. Taken to ground. Scrap on for the footy. Half forward for the Bombers. McGrath somehow got it out to the advantage of Shield. Hooks the kick back to centre half forward. Langford went the tap to the advantage of Stringer. Collects but headed in the wrong direction. Hand pass to Shield. Sells the dummy twice. Wrong foot's Bradley Hill. Kicks. A goal. Superb goal from Dylan Shield. Had to beat two Saners and then finished on the run. And Shield with a neat finish. After the crafty ball control, and Essendon have kicked the last two in the game. 2-1-13 the Bombers, St Kilda 5-4-34, 4 minutes into the second term.
It was a great little passage of play, forward 50 stoppage, and it was Jakey Stringer who burst through and gave a ball to someone who, when his back was facing the goal. And then Dylan Shield, who has been fantastic in rounds 1 and 2, and last week kicked a couple of really special goals, was just... He looks like he's got confidence at the moment, doesn't he? He's backing himself in. I reckon in previous year or two he would have just had a shot from 50, but he thought, no, I'm going to back myself in here, sell a bit of candy, do it again, and then finish off. Great goal.
Looks fit, doesn't he? Looks fit and hard.
Free kick out of the middle going to St Kilda. Marshall sends it towards half forward. Mark taken by Gresham, wheels and goes, kicks towards full forward. No mark taken by the Dons, but Draper's there. Handball to Laverty, to McGrath, and he kicks the Dons to the wing. Fisted away by Webster in front of Davey Jr. and out of play. We'll get a throw in on the wing members' side of the ground. Essendon with the last two after the Saints kicked the first 5. A 21-point lead to the Saints.
11 goals in the first quarter of the showdown, ticking towards quarter time. Port 6-1, Adelaide 5-1. 6-point lead for Port Adelaide. It's the Saints by 21 here from the boundary throw in. Davey Jr. hands it out to Merritt. They're up to the wing, the Bombers. Hand pass to Parrish. He gives it to Martin. Flares a hand pass out wide to Davey Jr. Kicks to the top of the goal square. Reaching for it. Wiedemann, no mark. Spills back to Wilkie under pressure. Hand passes it to Sinclair for the Saints. He kicks to half back. And Burns takes the mark. Right half back for the Saints. 5-4 to 2-1. 6 minutes into the second quarter as Essendon try and work their way back into the game after conceding the first 5 goals.
Burns kicks around the southern wing towards the logo. Big pack forms. No one able to take the mark. Hunter Clark roves, dumps it on his boot, kicks to the boundary. It tumbles out and the umpire says deliberate.
The old kick for touch. That was a fair decision.
Yep.
Ridley takes the kick for Essendon. To Kelly, who chips it short to Parrish. Defensive edge of the square. Kicks into the middle of the ground. And the mark taken here for the Dons by Menzies. Gives it back to Parrish, who will kick long towards half forward. Wiedemann can't take the mark. There at the fall of the ball is Howard.
Howard for the Saints. Hand pass to Hill. He gives it to Wood by hand. Short kick. He went 5 metres. Ross trying to claim the mark, told to go. Another short kick to Webster. Ump still waving at him, saying play on, play on. He gives it back by hand to Howard. Just easily steps his way around Davey and heads down to half forward for St Kilda. Philippo competes in the air, falls to Higgins. Hand pass away, trying to get it back to Mateus. No good as Langford intercepts. Hand pass to McGrath, gives it to Parrish. Surge kick forward and Wiedemann hugs it to his chest, just forward of the wing for the Bombers. Bit of momentum now for Essendon.
Wiedemann comes infield with his kick. Spots up Setterfield. Setterfield goes short. A good kick onto the chest of Caldwell. Gives it to D'Ambrosio running by. His kick is out to the left. And going up Draper, he can't take the mark. Off hands, it's through for a behind. So a minor score.
Just settling into their work a bit, aren't they? The Bombers getting their hands on the footy, really. That's where it's starting. Parrish 6 for the quarter already. McGrath, Shield, Martin, all good users getting their hands on the footy.
Just didn't hit it. D'Ambrosio, usually a good kick of the footy as Wanganeen Millero with the kick out. Short to Welke, gives it back to Nasaya, who goes bounding away down the half-back flank. Kicks down the wing. Laverty tries to smother it. Spills, though, to Burns of the Saints. Hand pass to Gresham, to Clark. Back to Crouch, who's got it out on that southern wing. Kicks to half forward for St Kilda. Over the head of Higgins and Kelly, and the ball skids off the surface and out of play. After some showers in the opening term, a boundary throw in 60 out from the Saints goal at the punt road end. St Kilda by 20, 8 minutes into the second. Quarter time, by the way, Ben, in the showdown. It's Port by 6 points. 6 goals to 5.
Umpire spins it back in. It's knocked back boundary side and out of play will go again.
If I wanted to listen to that, by the way, Ben, I would open up the ABC Listen app, which I'm already paying for, and I would click on the magnifying glass on the bottom right, search AFL, and on ABC AFL Extra, you can listen to every single play of the showdown.
We try again with this throw-in. Draper trying to take it out of the ruck. Loses custody of the ball. Picking it up. There is Durham. Feeds a handball back to Merritt for the Dons. Kicks around that southern wing. Trying to mark Wiedemann through his hands. Goes again at ground level. Over the top of it, Howard. The umpire circling. Holds his arms to his chest. Ball up inside the centre square, just forward of halfway for Essendon. 20 points, St Kilda's lead, 9 minutes into the second.
Umpire tosses it up. Draper, first ruckman to get there, wins it down to Setterfield's advantage. 60 out, kicks inside the forward arc. Up goes Wood, takes the intercept mark for St Kilda. 30 out from the defensive goal. Plenty of hang time and a kick out to Owens, who marks just in front of Langford. Halfback for the Saints. Of course, they're without Jack Steele tonight. Played with a broken collarbone last week. As Owens kicks down the wing and Caminiti takes the mark. St Kilda in games that he's missed a 5 and 4, so in the 9 matches he hasn't played since crossing over from the Giants. Caminiti heads down to half forward. Draper spoils, but straight to Ross's advantage for St Kilda. He can head inside the forward arc. Higgins with a leap. Got hands to it. Gresham just paddles it to his own advantage. Jams it on the boot, high up and under. Still alive, forward pocket for the Saints. Martin leaps up, no mark. Still there for Higgins. Hand pass away to Burns. Gives it to Gresham. Kicks outside right boot. Straight to the goal square. G. Kelly drops a sitter. Able to regather. Spins out of a would-be tackle from Higgins.
Then kicks long. Looking for a target. Going up. A strong mark from Wood. Reaching over the top of the pack. He takes the mark. Chips inside 50. Poor kick. Cold turnover. Mark taken for the Dons there by Parrish. Gives it off to D'Ambrosio. Who kicks towards half forward. Jones juggles the mark. Now he looks inside 50. Nothing he likes there. He'll kick laterally. Out to Setterfield, who drives it low inside 50. Caldwell in front, not quite. Davey Jr. swoops on it. Snaps on goal, but the Saints will get back. Able to take the mark. Webster on the last line. Saints lead by 20. 11 minutes gone in the second.
Quarter time in the showdown. Port Adelaide by 6 over Adelaide. Short kick to Sinclair in the long sleeves. Short to Webster, short to Wilkie. Still at half-back, St Kilda. A little kick to Ross. Gives it back to Wilkie. His third touch in the chain. Spears a pass and Windhager takes the sprawling mark. Outer edge of the centre square. Hand pass away to Ross. Through the middle of the G. Kicks inside the forward 50. Gresham's got to go. Competes with Redman. Spills down to Langford. He turns back in the defensive arc for Essendon. Short kick and Setterfield marks. Genuflecting to take it at centre half back.
He kicks into the middle of the ground and spots up Jones. Will this open a path to goal for Essendon? He kicks to a leading Wiedemann. Marks between the arc of 50 and the centre square. Chips it over the top. Terrible kick. Wanganeen Miller drops into the hole, takes the intercept mark for the Saints.
A funny game as it's really opened up. Both teams completely broken down structurally. The ball's going up and back, but no one can find that mark inside 50.
Luke Ball on grandstand AFL. Wood hands it over the top to Sinclair. Sinclair kicks down the wing. Wood's got it. He turns and kicks to half forward. Windhager the target, picked up though by Ridley of the Bombers. Hand pass away to Merritt. Merritt had a fumble, put himself under pressure. Tackled, gives it back to Ridley. He's pushed off it, now crouched for the Saints. Hand pass away to Gresham, close to the boundary line, and it's out of play. We'll have a throw in right half forward here for St Kilda. Kicking to the punt right end of the ground. Saints by 20, 13 minutes into the second quarter. Just the one goal in the term so far.
Yeah, plenty of hands on hips, Murph. Plenty looking for the oxygen.
Marshall hacks it with his boot out of the ruck, back towards the boundary. Just pitches in play, but deliberate.
Not sure he meant that, did he? The umpire's trying to get the game going a bit.
Yeah. It's been a weird 5 minutes. It's been really methodical, smart ball use through the arcs, but then going inside 50, just lacking composure.
Durham goes back to D'Ambrosio and moves it on to Ridley. Short to Laverty. Essendon with it at right half back. Saints lead by 20 points. Essendon have kicked the last 2 goals. St Kilda kicked the first 5. Here's Kelly going short, finding Heppel, the former skipper.
He retreats all the way back to D'Ambrosio, who marks at centre half-back, switches on, hits up the skipper, and Zach Merritt, who marks at half-back, heads down that southern wing. Sammy Durham takes the mark. One of the 3 mid-season recruits the Bombers have in their 22 tonight. He goes short to Setterfield. Setterfield pokes the pass to Kelly. Slow build-up is taking what St Kilda are giving them at the moment as Kelly pokes the pass to Elwyn Davey Jr. He marks 70 metres out at half forward. Kicks in the Nick Martin direction. He marks in front of Liam Stocker. And a wet, greasy footy Mick Martin with the sticky hands marks at centre half forward.
Well, it's a good call, Court. They did. They took what the Saints had given them, and really after that passage of play where both teams were tonguing it a bit, that'll really disappoint Ross Lyon, though. That ability for the Bombers to make the ground big and work their way down to was an uncontested mark, but expect a better contest from his defenders off that slow play.
Kick 5 on debut, of course, on this ground. Started last year. Nick Martin with the momentum shifter. He misses. Out to the right. 5-4 to 2-3. Bombers backing the play around the ground. They conceded the first 5 goals, and thus St Kilda lead by 19 halfway through the second.
Sinclair takes the kick in, takes a bounce after about 2 steps too, then goes short.
I do love the long sleeve from Jack Sinclair in the St Kilda jersey. Looks very, very good.
It's even got the little red cuff.
Yeah, very retro.
Yes.
And the collar, of course, on all the jumpers tonight.
You've had it popped.
I'm with you, Murph.
Dougal Howard kicks in the Marshall direction, but in front. Wood goes up and high points it. Howard a mark now, kicks around the boundary to Marshall. Forward feeds a handball to the runner Butler for the Saints. Arches his back, runs away from Stringer, floats a kick inside 50, and Higgins marks. The Ambrosio thought there was an illegal shove. The umpire says no, and Higgins can go back on a 30-degree angle. He'll lay boot to ball from about 40 metres out.
Just getting that overlap run so important in modern footy, isn't it, Murph?
Yeah.
The team's pressing and coming forward to defend. You can really get them out the back.
Wants to go with the snap and bends it through from distance. His second, and it just steadies the ship for the Saints. (6-4-40). Essendon 2-3-15, quarter hour mark of the second term, back out to 25 points.
It's one of those things, I reckon, that really separates the really good teams from just the good teams, is that ability to just make it up as you go and to give the handball to a running pass and just back them in, that they're calling for the ball because they can see the next option ahead. It's sort of been watching Essendon tonight a little bit, which I've actually been impressed with the way they've gone about it this year, but tonight they haven't really backed that runner in and given the ball and just backed in their forwards that they're in the right space up forward to present an option. So that's something I'd like to see the Bombers do more in this game to get their offence going.
Higgins 1 goal through the first 2 weeks of the season. He's kicked 2 already tonight. He's still got a bit to play out in this second quarter. A free kick here for St Kilda. Now Brad Crouch looked like tried to take the advantage off his knees. And as he went to handball, the ball was knocked out of his hands.
That by a call play on too.
Yeah, and the ump's going to give him the benefit of the doubt and bring it back.
Oh, sure about that.
Lucky one for St Kilda as Crouch comes out of the centre square to Nasiah Wanganeen-Miller. Kicks a high bomb inside the forward pocket. Working his way to the front. No mark. Owens had hands on it. Spills through to McGrath. G took on the tackler. He's in strike, McGrath, and he's caught. Good follow-up from Owens. Didn't take the mark initially and then became tackler as he hunts down McGrath in the forward pocket.
Yeah, good tackle. Good tackle. I'm not sure about the fend off deep inside 50. It's probably one of those ones where under enormous pressure probably get the ball on the boot and clear the area, but good tackle from the young man.
One of the 4 teenagers in the team for the Saints. He hooks it too much to the near side or behind. It's a good start to the year, Mitch Owens. 6-5 to 2-3. Saints by 26 points. 18 gone second term.
Mason Redmond comes rushing out of the square with the kick in. Goes long towards the wing. Launching out at Durham. Doesn't take the mark. D'Ambrosio picks it up. Handball back to Durham. Handball to Laverty. Handball to Langford. Back to Durham. All of this on the southern wing. Handball back to D'Ambrosio. Feeds a handball forward to Merritt. He kicks finally, looking for Jones. Spoilt away. Good job from Battle. He sees it out of play. A throw in between wing and half forward for the Dons. Lauren Borden downstairs.
A lot of work going into the youngsters at St Kilda. You can see on the bench, head of development Damien Carroll, who's been walking along the boundary with some of the young players like Mateus Philippou, Wanganeen-Miller, just trying to give them some advice throughout the game as it goes on.
Thanks, Loz. Good insight on the St Kilda bench. The boundary throw, and we got another ball up. Going nowhere fast in all of that. Cordy doing the ruck work for St Kilda. Wins the hit out. Ends up, though, in the hands of Shield, who just pumps it hurriedly inside the forward 50. Wilkie punches it away, but back to the hot spot. Howard's hand pass knocked down. Straight to Stringer. He delivers. 1 back for the Bombers. Playing severely uphill in this game, having conceded the first 5. But the Bombers now have 3 of their own. 3-3-21, St Kilda. 6-5-41. Saints by 20 points as we approach time on second term on Grandstand AFL. Luke Ball and Mark Murphy.
Well, sometimes it's a simple formula, isn't it, Murphy?
Yeah.
You quick kick in, get the forwards one out, either mark or bring the ball to ground. It was a good contest. I think it was Stringer was out of position, bring the ball to ground and bring the small forwards into play. And it was Menzies that time that really created the goal, that forward pressure, just able to get the hand up and intercept the handball coming over the top from, I think it was Howard. Yeah, it was Howard. And fortuitously landed in the lap of Stringer, who's, we know is good enough to kick that goal without even looking. So just these half chances, they're going to keep the Bombers in the game in this first half.
He's created a couple of them now, Jakey, and then got one on the board himself from just getting that hand in and fighting through.
Now kicked 3 of the last 4 goals in this game have Essendon. Ross with the clearance for the Saints, kicks towards half forward. There's a holding free kick. Going to go against the Saints and Wood. Free kick will go to Kelly for Essendon. Right on the defensive arc is where the mark is set. Kelly will kick to the wing, launching at it. Wiedemann has a lot of it, doesn't complete the mark, but roves and gives a handball back to Parrish, who gives it to D'Ambrosio, comes inside with the kick, and Shield marks.
Shield comes wide to Redmond. Marks in front of the benches. Oh, Polyfarmo hand pass just missed Parrish and slips out of bounds. Not enough hosing smooth tonight for Mason Redmond. It's such a good sort of 18 months, but doesn't have the hottest start. 21 minutes into the second term. St Kilda by 20. 6-5 to 3-3. Meanwhile, in the showdown, it's Port Adelaide by 11, so 5 minutes into the second quarter there. Boundary throwing back here at the G. Hill to Filippo. Hand pass away to Higgins. High bomb down to Owens. One-on-one with Laverty. Hits the deck. Spoiled away. D'Ambrosio. Hand pass away to Ridley. Runs straight into trouble. He's caught. And the ball up centre half forward for St Kilda. I haven't forgotten about your SMSs, by the way. 0437 774 774. Favourite all-time St Kilda players. We'll get to all of that at half-time.
Winning the tap down and going again at ground level is Owens. He then squeezes a kick forward for the Saints, and leading out, Higgins has it again. Almost in the exact same position he kicked the goal from 5 minutes ago.
Looks like he's pretty comfortable with the setting up and kicking around the corner here. He's going to go for it again.
Here he goes with the snap from 40 metres out. He's done it again. And he pops the collar in celebration. 3 for Higgins as he re-establishes St Kilda's lead. Or does he? Goal umpire Chelsea Roffey wants to just check it. They believe it's a goal. They just want to check it on the goalpost. And Snicko is flat. You can mark that in your footy record. It'll be a 7th major for St Kilda. It'll be 7-5-47, leading Essendon 3-3-21. 22 and a half minutes into their second term on Grandstand AFL. We make it official.
I'd be interested to know, Corby, have you ever seen a little heartbeat on the Snicko, the goalpost? I don't think I've ever seen one. I've never seen one being overturned by a little marker on the...
It's the pick of the technology for mine.
Yeah.
Because sometimes there's angles that you just can't clearly see.
I agree.
Yeah, it's the most critical technology in terms of whether a ball grazed the post or not. But
are you doubting the legitimacy of this?
Well,
sounds like it,
I just find it hard to believe that there's a Snicko meter on the goalpost.
He's had a good night though, hasn't he, Jack Higgins? 10 possessions, 3 goals.
Yeah, he's been very
in front, first to move.
What's the pop collar all about?
I don't know, but I didn't mind it.
I bet he's happy there was nothing on Snicko after the pop collar celebration. He's got 3 already. Higgins having kicked 1 through the first 2 games. Back in the middle, Marshall Just hacks it out of the middle after winning the hit out to half forward. Here's Higgins again, hitting up outside the 50. Collects, hand pass to Butler, shakes a tackle, feeds it back to Higgins, has a fumble, puts himself under pressure, and D'Ambrosio wins it back for Essendon at half back. To Parrish, to Martin, spun around, coughs it up. Wood feeds a hand pass back to half forward for Higgins, dishes off to Butler, 45 out, kicks right to the goal square. Philippo competes outnumbered. Falls down to Kelly. The Bombers gives it to Heppel. Heppel miskicks it, sprays out of bounds, and the umpire says spin it in. St Kilda fans wanted a free for deliberate. It's not forthcoming. That's just a skill error, and we'll have a boundary throw in half forward for the Saints.
Yeah, it's a good decision. Yeah. That's just a left footer not being able to kick it round on his right.
It's good awareness of that.
Yeah. They get sucked in by the crowd.
Umpire brings it back in. Marshall knocks it down. Straight to Gresham, to Wood. His handball chopped off by Martin for the Saints. Kicks around the corner towards the logo. And Stocker's there to take the intercept mark for St Kilda. 26 points is St Kilda's lead. Stocker goes laterally to Ross. Sebastian Ross looks into the pocket, trying to find a marker, but taking the mark readily for the Dons. Has it in the back pocket, kicks across the face of goal to Kelly.
Hand pass to D'Ambrosio. He's closed down by Higgins, who's on denied. D'Ambrosio, wild hand pass. Got it out to Kelly. Back to D'Ambrosio. Sells a dummy and Drew Hunter-Clark off his feet and kicks down the wing. The two sevens go at it. Merritt can't mark. Wanganeen Miller just paddles it out in front. Wood crashes through. Spills to Menzie. His hand pass back in dispute. Ross for the Saints. Ushers it out to Sinclair to Webster. Sinclair got it back and Merritt's got him. Ball comes out. Webster under pressure. Hand pass a turnover. Caldwell for the Bombers. Hands it to Shield. Sweeps a hand pass out to half forward. This is Martin. He's 55 out. Kicks for Draper. Carries his head. Good half volley pick up from Heppel. Gives it to centre field. Hand pass to Parrish. Kicks the fat part of the footy. It's a high bomb to the behind line. Tough one for Stringer. He and Wilkie both touches it. It goes through for a behind. And Essendon moves to 3-4. St Kilda a 7-5. It's the Saints by 25 points. 26 gone second term.
Just feel it's gone up a notch. Don't you, Bally, at the moment. The pressure's certainly
good pressure
risen a notch. And some really strong contests there on the far side of the wing.
Sinclair goes into the pocket. Finds Battle. His kick. Dodgy. Turns it over. And Parrish bobs up to mark for Essendon. 60 out from goal. Looks into the pocket. Stringer offering a lead. The Saints get back into the hole and fist it away. Brave and good work from Stocker. He forces a throw-in in the right forward pocket for the Dons.
Looked at his rating, Darcy Parrish up to 11 for the quarter. D'Ambrosio's at 11 for the quarter as well. He's been terrific.
St Kilda lead by 25. Umpire spins it back in. Marshall knocks it down, bursting through Setterfield. Handball away. The snap on goal is put through by Menzie. And Essendon come again. 4-4-28 move the Dons. St Kilda 7-5-47. The lead reduced to 19 points on the stroke of half-time. Mark Murphy and Luke Ball.
Some really good just stoppage craft there by Will Setterfield. Was marked against Seb Ross and just outbodied him and was really clean. And then to give that handball is probably, I didn't see it was there, but great vision, which top of the square. That's where you normally want it to be kicked to, but great use by hands there from Will Setterfield. Great clearance and great goal.
For the SMS, Hudson in Hobart, Darryl Baldock.
Hard to argue with that.
Yeah.
The Doc,
in the
premiership captain.
In the conversation as the greatest Sainer of all time. Marking Upway High Gents, another great call tonight. Robbie Muir is the St Kilda player I most remember. What a hard player he was from Mark.
Certainly memorable.
Back in the middle. Here's Shield for the Bombers. A bit of go forward again from the centre break. Tumbles a kick out to half forward. Menzie gets rid of Wanganeen Miller. Ball sits for Martin, who shoots goalward but misses. Behind. 2.5 minutes left before half time. So Essendon move to 4-5. St Kilda 7-5. Bombers playing catch up straight out of the gates as St Kilda kicked the first 5 goals. Their lead reduced to 18 points now.
Sinclair waits his kick for Wilkie, who takes it and goes and kicks well, and Wood strong out in front to complete the mark on the southern wing.
She's been super again. He continues his good form, Mason Wood.
Looks like a different player, doesn't he, Bally? Kicks around that southern wing, trying to find Cordy. He can't complete the mark. The Saints are there in numbers. Gresham loses it, but earns a high free kick. Gresham 2 kicks out from goal as he just says, settle down.
And Gresham's just going to sit it up to the hot spot. They come from all directions. Spills down to Cordy, stands over the footy, but Kelly does well to bend down, pick it up. Hand pass to Parrish. He's tackled straight away. Says ball up. Forward pocket here for the Saints. The fireworks out the back of the Great Southern Stand. Same thing happened last night. There's always something going on in Melbourne. There's plenty happening this weekend with all the footy and the Formula One in town as Draper knocks it out of bounds and a throw-in forward pocket for the Saints.
Just ask
Flower and Garden Show too, just around the corner as well.
Is that what it is? Do they need fireworks for that?
I'm not sure that's part of the fireworks, but it's happening in Melbourne.
God, there's always something going on.
Comedy festival.
Yes.
Well, book tickets, Paulie. From the throw-in, Cordy's won the tap down. On the footy is Butler. He's tackled quickly.
Are you going, Paulie?
Yeah, I will. Yeah, usually later in the month. Always falls around the wife's birthday, so it's an easy one. But crucial 90 seconds here for the Bombers. Have to hold up.
Cordy wins the tap down, trying to stand up in a tackle is Setterfield.
Yeah, if they can get to half-time, it's 3 goals down. It's been a much better quarter. They've turned the tables on the contest. Tested footy.
Saints by 18. They've got a stoppage here again. Deep forward. Handed out by Setterfield to Parrish. Kick smothered on the way through. Menzies. Almost the clean half volley pick up. Lost it last minute. Clark gives it to Hill. He can't control it. Now Wood on the 50. Knocks it to Filippo. Hand pass to Clark. Still throw a blanket over 20 players here. Hill receives a hand pass. Gives it to Wood. He goes back to Wanganeen Millera. Gets his leg free. Kicks inside 50 and Draper takes the mark, the one-on-one with Cordy. Last line of defence. Saints by 18 points. Half-hour mark, second term on Grandstand AFL.
Draper a long kick towards the wing, trying to find an outlet. There's a free kick. They'll receive one through that. Wiedemann will get it. Wiedemann kicks around the wing. Has a man out in Redmond. Hasn't had his best day. Feeds a handball to the run of Stringer. He sweeps a handball forward to Perkins, who's run down, caught cold, holding the ball. And St Kilda to get it back through Ross at right half back.
Just a little bit of lack of awareness there, but great chase down tackle from Seb Ross. Stayed in the contest and fought hard to win that tackle while holding the ball.
Ross short to battle. Waning moments here of the second term.
Super talented young player, we know that, Archie Perkins. A couple of times you'd love him to give that first handball over the top. Little learning for a young player.
There's the horn for half-time. St Kilda by 18 points. They kicked the first 5 goals of the ball game. Essendon have been competitive thereafter, but just haven't been able to string back-to-back goals together. So in that term, 3-2 the Bombers' way. And at half-time, it's St Kilda 7-5-47, Essendon 4-5-29. An 18-point lead for the Saints. Jack Higgins has kicked 3 in the first half. Singles for Owens, Butler, Wood and Caminiti. While for Essendon, 1 each for Shield, Perkins, Stringer and Menzies. Meanwhile, in the showdown over in Adelaide, 9-1-55, Port Adelaide lead the Crows 7-3-45, so a 10-point lead for the Power. They're about 8 minutes of game time behind us, so 8 minutes to go there before half-time. There is a call available through the ABC Listen app. Just look for the ABC AFL Extra button if you want to follow along to the play-by-play, with the play-by-play commentary for the Power and the Crows. Half-time here at the G. Luke Ball and Mark Murphy on Grandstand AFL. The Saints by 3 goals.
Well, entertaining half, Murph. I think we spoke at quarter time about the Saints' dominance, really, and the fact that the Bombers were just so off defensively from what we've seen over the first couple of weeks, and the Saints were able to both win the ball inside, but then really run and spread on them and transition the ball forward from back to forward far too easily, and kick those first 5 goals. But you just got the sense, as that second quarter progressed, that, talk about Parrish and McGrath and Merritt a little bit, just started to get their hands on the footy a bit. They evened it up. In fact, they turned the tables, in terms of the contested possession that quarter, and they were just able to start to transition the ball themselves and quite get reward for effort. Probably left a few out there, but were able to compete forward of the ball. Wasn't as many intercept possessions as there were in that first quarter, and bring their small forwards into play and hit the scoreboard a little bit. So 3 goals, given how much the Saints outplayed them in the first quarter, they'll go in with a bit of confidence at half-time, I think.
Yeah, there was certainly a momentum swing, wasn't there? And you're right, it started around the contest, but it was more probably the work rate from stoppage and around the ground, which you just started to see Essendon starting to dig in a little bit more and start to get the game a little bit more on their terms. But you sort of go back to that initial, probably first 25 minutes, really, of the first quarter, where it was ill-disciplined, and then a few just marks inside 50. There's 7 marks that St Kilda's had inside 50 as opposed to Essendon's 2. So that's probably where the difference in the game lies at the moment. It's probably capitalising a little bit more, the Saints, on their entries going inside 50. But you could certainly tell there was a shift in momentum back towards Essendon in that quarter. And I think they'd be pretty happy going in at half-time after that break at quarter time, where they no doubt would have got a rocket.
Just got to find a way to get some better looks at goal. The Bombers, they're having to work really hard for their goals at the moment. I can't recall a mark inside 50. Wiedemann's gone down there, and at times he's looked imposing, but he's had to come up to the wings to get the footy a little bit, and he's having a spell on the ruck as well. Just struggling to get that money kick and that last kick inside 50. You get a really good look at it with Stringer down there as well. It's been their forwards buzzing around and trying to create opportunities like that. Dylan Shield, a terrific individual effort to hit the scoreboard. So that's something that they'll need to work on as well at half-time, just to give themselves better opportunities. They had a lot of inside 50. They had inside 50 that quarter. I think it was well over 13 or 14. So to only hit the scoreboard 3 or 4 times, you need to sort of find different ways to be a bit more efficient.
They obviously feel that they're going to be stretched down back. That's why Kyle Langford's going there. Now, obviously, Zerk Thatcher not playing this week, but to me, it just doesn't look like he's in his natural habitat down back. I know he hasn't really trained a lot forward, but he looked terrific last week and was, in my eyes, best on ground last week, Kyle Langford. So, to me, you've got to look at maybe making a change there to get someone to go down back, so give him the ability to go up forward where he looked so great last week.
Yeah, he was drafted as a forward. He's got good natural forward craft, so that might be a lever that they can pull. That they can shift him forward because he's in good goal kicking form.
We didn't get a chance to talk about it pre-game much, that the profile of both teams, and as it's turned out, it's obviously been a bit greasy and hasn't really played out on that front. But St Kilda are allowing the most marks in the competition through the first 2 weeks, but the fewest metres gained per disposal, which I mentioned during the call. So they set up well. They're happy for you to have the footy in a certain period of the ground, but then they obviously block off sort of from halfway onwards, and are so well set up, particularly through the corridor. So if you want to just possess the footy in the back half, good luck to you. The interesting thing is Essendon's profile is actually very similar to Fremantle's. So Fremantle are struggling 0-2. The Bombers obviously 2 wins from 2 starts. So high uncontested marks. Essendon second in the league. High time in possession. They're third, the Bombers. And number 3 in the competition for turnovers. So they turn. So basically what that means is they mark the ball, they keep it, and they don't turn it over very much. Different from Fremantle in how quick they move the ball. So obviously that's something that Fremantle have struggled with. They get it, they hold it. They almost sort of paralyse themselves without sort of anything to do with it, whereas the Bombers have a little bit more speed on the ball. And certainly something we saw in that first half is St Kilda took Essendon's game away from them early, and now the Bombers are trying to get their game up and going, and it just feels like they haven't had sort of much fluency with it so far, but they're slowly working their way back into it.
Yeah, and it hasn't been St Kilda's team defence really, though, has it? That quarter in particular, we commented about halfway through how a lot of the footy was going up and back through the corridor, and that's not the sort of game that Ross Lyon would have liked, and his coaching team liked to see played. And we spoke briefly during that first quarter, the challenge of doing that at the MCG. So they've had 2 games at Marvel Stadium, which is a bit tighter and is a lot more conducive to being able to play that style of footy. Could the Bombers get out into space and really test them and play and attack on a big ground? That was going to be the challenge for the Saints. Well, they haven't been able to. I think their pressure around the ball has been good, the Saints, but you wouldn't say that they've been able to control the game how they'd like, and how we've seen in the first couple of rounds in that sort of team defence, force them to kick sideways and backwards, and then down the line and create the turnover from there.
I think the MCG size will be telling later in this game with the mids that Essendon have, because they are good runners through the midfield. And you talk about Parrish and Merritt and Shield. They're great runners of offensive running. They've obviously added that defensive side of their game this year, which we've enjoyed watching, but there's no doubt that the more this game goes on, with the larger ground being the G compared to Marvel, you feel that the Essendon midfielders might get their hands on the football a little bit more.
0437 774 774. Who is your all-time favourite Sainter and why? Off the SMS, Danny in Frankston North. My favourite St Kilda player of all time is Ian Stewart. Great centre player and brilliant disposal of the ball to other players. This from Andrew in Surrey Hills, Nicky Winmar. Pioneering Indigenous player in a time that this wasn't understood. So a lot of praise for Nicky Winmar there. Daz in Dunsborough in WA. Lenny Hayes, a natural leader, great footy brain and cool under pressure. I like this one from Max. Ozzy Jones, not a Saints fan, but loved watching him burst through the centre and hitting the forwards lace out. Of course, that magical run here at the MCG.
He was at the function too, and obviously asked about that, and he did say that he's sick of that. He said that I feel like that's the only good thing I ever did in my career. Even his 13-year-old son, that's all he wants to talk about. It's quite funny.
Yeah, it was
good to see Ozzy.
It was a tremendous run. Tim in Applecross, Cowboy Neil for the nickname alone. Trevor Barker for the inspiration to go for all those absolute screamers. Great to hear Ben Cameron. His Eastern States accent has been established early.
Did he text that through?
From Tim in Applecross. Dave from Busso in WA. Berkey, of course, one of the greatest not to win a flag, consistent hard worker, of course, part of our team as well on Grandstand AFL. Mark from Caulfield. My hero was Big Carl Dittrich. Stewart and Henley, so many Sainers. Austin, Nicky, Robert. But for the pack crashing, the work ethic, the utter commitment, how can you go past Nick Rewald? And from Rachel in Barry Hall, I'm surprised nobody has mentioned Tony Lockett, yet he was amazing. I also loved Barry Hall. So some of your nominations off the SMS, 0437 774 774. Who was yours, Murph?
I gave it 3-2-1, Corby, and I gave mid-90s to late 90s. Jason Heatley with the glove, go back and just kick goals at will. 2 was Fraser Garrick, the G-Train. I love seeing him run around just fending blokes off, kicking the ball around the corner. And then my 3 was Ozzy Jones. So I was a bit flat someone mentioned him. But Ozzy Jones just dashing down the wing and just looked like he just had fun out there playing football. So Ozzy Jones, I really enjoyed watching.
I'm going to tease yours out, Bally. We'll do that on the other side of the latest from the ABC Newsroom. We'll hear from Luke Ball for his favourite Sainers. We want to hear more from you as well. 0437 774 774. The latest from ABC News coming up, and then the second half action here at the G. St Kilda by 18 points over the Bombers. A tight one in the showdown. Another lead change. Adelaide by a point over the Power. So shaping up nicely 2 minutes before half-time in the City of Churches. It's half-time here at the MCG. Let's get the latest from the ABC Newsroom.
ABC News with David Rowlands. ABC election analyst Anthony Green says it's increasingly difficult to see how the Liberals can retain the eastern Melbourne federal seat of Aston as Labor takes an early lead in the by-election vote count. Labor's Mary Doyle is leading the Liberals' Rashina Campbell by more than 3% on the latest ABC projections. If Labor wins, it will be the first time in a century that a government has won a seat off the opposition in a by-election. Green says it's still too close to call, but the current numbers don't look good for the Liberals.
At this stage, these figures are starting to look grim. If that trend continues, we still have all those pre-polls and postals to come, but the polling places are settling into a pattern of a swing which would be big enough to cost the Liberal Party Aston.
The Prime Minister, Anthony Albanese, says it's an outstanding result for New South Wales Labor to have a workable majority. Labor has been unable to form majority government in the state. The ABC has called 2 of the 3 remaining seats in doubt for the Liberal Party, Terrigal and Holsworthy. Mr Albanese says Premier Chris Minns will be a great leader for New South Wales.
It's an outstanding result for Chris Minns to be able to form a government in New South Wales, and he clearly will have a workable majority. There are people on the crossbenches who've signed up to confidence and supply very early on.
Taiwan says Chinese military aircraft have again crossed the median line in the Taiwan Strait, separating it from China. The Defence Ministry says 9 military jets and a drone traversed the line, a similar number to the day before. China claims Taiwan as part of its territory, while Taiwan asserts its independence. Russia will assume the rotating presidency of the UN Security Council after Ukraine failed to get the move blocked. More from the BBC's Nicholas Rocha.
Russia's turn to head the UN Security Council may only last 30 days, but it is raising eyebrows only a couple of weeks after the International Criminal Court issued an arrest warrant for its president, Vladimir Putin. However, nothing can be done about it. The United States has already said it has no power to do so. Moscow's ambassador to the UN told the TASS news agency he planned to oversee several debates, including one on arms control. He said he would hold a strategic discussion about the contours of a new world order that, he said, was coming to replace the unipolar one.
The head of Iran's judiciary is threatening to prosecute without mercy women who appear in public unveiled. It comes as an increasing number of Iranian women defy the compulsory dress code. Iranian media are reporting the judiciary chief as saying officers are obliged to enforce any kind of public abnormality against the religious law. The South Australian government says taxpayers will not be paying a cent of a $94 million potential penalty to break a rail privatisation contract. The $2.14 billion agreement was struck between the previous Liberal government and Keolis Downer. However, the government today declared its intention to push ahead with plans to scrap it, saying the economics of the deal did not stack up. The man accused of abducting two boys from their home north of Perth early yesterday morning has not applied for bail. Ashley Davis has more.
34-year-old Jonathan Richard Anthony appeared in person at Perth Magistrates Court this morning, where he failed to acknowledge the charges against him. He faces 7 charges relating to the abduction of 2 boys from their home in Moora, a small town 2 hours north of Perth. Police allege Mr Anthony entered the home via the front door and carried out an 8-year-old boy before coming back to the house to take his 12-year-old brother. The older brother managed to fight his way free and alert an adult who called the police. A search of the area led to the 8-year-old boy being found at a nearby home. Mr Anthony was remanded in custody until his next appearance.
To sport, and Alistair Clarkson's perfect start at North Melbourne has come to an end in the AFL. It came at the hands of his former club, Hawthorn. The Hawks rebounded from 2 heavy defeats to start their campaign by outplaying North 11-14-80 to 9-7-61 in Launceston. It was the first time that Clarkson coached against Hawthorn, where he won 4 premierships in 17 years. In Saturday afternoon's other match, Carlton continued their unbeaten start to the season with a 9-20-74 to 9-10-64 defeat of Greater Western Sydney at Giants Stadium. And the New South Wales Swifts have recorded a come-from-behind 3-goal victory over the Queensland Firebirds at Ken Rosewall Arena in Sydney in the Super Netball. Trailing by 3 goals at the major break, they went on to win 74-71.
Simone Young is one of the most talented conductors of her generation.
When I started, I faced considerable opposition.
Executive producer Kate Blanchett takes us into the world of one of our greatest conductors.
In 1991, there were no women conductors.
What does being a woman have to do with conducting?
She's not afraid to just be a boss.
Simone Young.
She was born to be a conductor.
Knowing the Score.
It is magic.
Streaming now on ABC iView. Grandstand AFL.
Now streaming every match on the ABC Listen app.
Look for the AFL button.
To the advantage of Stringer, collects but headed in the wrong direction. Hand pass to Shield. Sells the dummy twice. Wrong foot's Bradley Hill. Kicks a goal. Superb goal from Dylan Shield. Had to beat 2 Sainers and then finished on the run.
To the runner Butler for the Saints. Arches his back, runs away from Stringer, floats a kick inside 50, and Higgins marks. The Ambrosio thought there was an illegal shove. The umpire says no, and Higgins can go back on a 30-degree angle. Will they boot the ball from about 40 metres out? Wants to go with the snap and bends it through from distance. His second, and it just steadies the ship for the Saints.
Wilkie punches it away, then back to the hot spot. Howard's hand pass knocked down. Straight to Stringer. He delivers. 1 back for the Bombers.
Going again at ground level is Owens. He then squeezes a kick forward for the Saints. And leading out, Higgins has it again. Almost in the exact same position he kicked the goal from 5 minutes ago. Here he goes with the snap from 40 metres out. He's done it again. And he pops the collar in celebration. 3 for Higgins. Marshall knocks it down, bursting through Setterfield. Handball away, the snap on goal is put through by Menzies. And Essendon come again.
the 2023 AFL season.
On radio,
ABC Sport Digital.
and now streaming on the ABC Listen app.
Sounds here of the second quarter. Essendon trying to work their way back into the contest. They conceded the first 5 goals of the match. They started 34 points down, and when they got going, they have kicked 4 of the last 6 goals in the game. It's still plenty to do. St Kilda by 18 points. The Saints celebrating their 150th anniversary, so a big crowd in attendance. They're hoping to break their all-time record for a home and away game at the MCG. They haven't actually had a home game here since 2016. Now, their all-time record for a home match at this venue is 67,893. I think we're right in the ballpark around the 67,000 mark, hopefully into the 70s to break a record for the Saints on their milestone night. Saints by 18 points. Corbin Middlemass and Ben Cameron calling the footy. Lauren Borden on the boundary. Luke Ball and Mark Murphy, your grandstand AFL experts. A quick little whip around. Saints by 18 points here. It's half-time in the showdown. They're starting again. 9-3-57 each of 2, so scores level at half-time in the showdown. In the evening fixture, it was Carlton by 10 points over GWS. They got a bit of a fright in the final quarter and actually fell behind Carlton, having led for much of the day. They come back to win it again. So a 10-point win for the Blues over the Giants in Sydney. And Hawthorn by 19 points, so Sam Mitchell a first-up winner against Alistair Clarkson. 19 points, the final margin in Launceston. The NRL. Full time in the game between the Seagulls and the Knights. Can't be separated, 32 points each. So a draw in the NRL between Manly and Newcastle. The St George Illawarra Dragons 38-12 over the Dolphins. And there's a game going on at the moment between the Bronx and the West Tigers, and it's lopsided with half an hour to go. The Broncos 34, the West Tigers 6. This is what we're really here for. Off the SMS, your all-time favourite Sainter, Andrew in Gosnell says Trevor Barker. Loyalty during many, many ordinary years for the Saints. And from John, hi Corbin, Bawley, Murph, I'm sure Loz and Ben. Favourite Sainter is Tony Lockett. Lit up Moorabbin like no other. Buckets, Stewie, Lowe, Nathan Burke also getting some nominations as well. What are you chuckling at, Ben?
Oh, just your reaction to the text message.
He's a bit flat. He got left off the text message.
Yeah.
Loz and I left off. But we're new to the team, so
I did tease this before, Bawley. Your all-time favourite Saints. Bawley, Murph gave us 3.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm a halves man. I'm a halves, so I'm a halves disciple. And I was, fortunate enough to play with him right through to his 38th year, I think it was. He was just magnificent, and obviously played with a few other champs as well. But we'll throw a few maybe lesser, that were there that
cult figures.
Yeah, cult figures, but just lesser likes perhaps that I loved playing with that didn't quite have the. We'll throw Brett Voss at you, Stevie Lawrence, and Stevie Baker, who I was lucky enough to share at Best and Fairest with in 2005. Just hard nuts, blokes who you just love going to war with every week. So there's a few others as well.
Had you fun going to war with Stephen Baker, Murph?
He's the hardest body of all time.
That says everything about him. The Saints by 18 points. Second half action upon us on Grandstand AFL. You with Ben Cameron.
Shocking bounce. I know you're dying for someone to ask as well, Corby. We'll get to your favourite Saint at some point. Umpire puts it aloft. Second time around, Marshall knocks it down, soccering it forward. Gresham. Handball away there from Filippo to Crouch, who grubbers a kick towards half forward. Redmond there for the Dons. He's quickly wrapped up in a tackle. Held in by Burns, and we'll ball it up again.
I bumped into Shane at half-time. It's big East Fremantle crossover. Said Paul Harding and Brett Peake. Obviously, East Fremantle St Kilda connection on that front.
Ball put aloft, knocked down, and a free kick is going the way here of Parrish. So we'll have it at half-back for the Dons. As we were at half-time, St Kilda lead by 18 points.
Bombers in their red strip with the outline of the sash, and St Kilda in a throwback jumper. They've got the famous red, white and black columns. Of course, their Neapolitan jumper, and they've got the white collar on it as well tonight. As the kick here from Wanganeen Miller heads down to half forward, spills to Webster. He goes short. And mark taken by Wanganeen Miller, so he gets his second touch in the opening minutes of this third quarter. It's his second touch of the term. He's a bit of it tonight, up to 12 for the night. Goes back to battle. Lays a hand pass off to Dougal Howard, and he swings his kick all the way over to Wilkie. So pretty controlled start. There's a big crowd in. It feels like a cricket crowd to start this third quarter as the Saints in a slow ball movement game. He chips out to Wood and he pulls the trigger on the 45 inboard to Crouch.
Crouch chips it over the top. His kick is a good one. Finds Windhager. Has some strapping on that thumb injury that kept him out of round one. Goes laterally to Battle. Battle now off a step. Kicks into the pocket for the Saints. Looking for a target. Over the head of Laverty. Out the back it goes. Kelly gets it on the bounce. Back to Laverty, who's dragged down in a tackle. And the umpire to come in and ball it up. Left forward pocket here for the Saints. Umpire puts it up. Draper knocks it down. Close to the boundary line. Going after it. Gresham keeps it in. Handball misses the target. Laverty gets back and gathers the footy across fullback here for the Dons. Handball to Ridley. Handball to Redmond. Just gets his handball away to Durham. And it'll come back. He was dealt with after he got rid of it. There, Redmond, or will it be downfield? It will. Slightly downfield. Durham with the free kick at left half back for the Dons.
Short pass to Nick Martin. Marks at half back. Hand pass away to Parrish. And kicks down the wing. That's not a great kick. Focus Wilkie takes the intercept mark. Saints by 18 points. Early stages here of the third term. He kicks back to a contest. Philippo's up in front. Can't rip it down. Parrish, hand pass back into dispute. Sinclair attacks it, picks it up clean. And the famous number 35 hands it out wide to Crouch. He's at high half forward, puts the Saints inside 50. Higgins in a 2-on-1. Hand on it from Kelly, slips out the back. Kelly sits on it, hands it out to McGrath. And he can kick Essendon to half back. And Sammy Durham takes the mark, left half back.
Durham wants to switch it. Kicks across the goal mouth. Finds Ridley, who sends it towards the southern wing. Onto the chest there of Menzies. He'll come infield with his kick. Just backward of the logo to Setterfield. Setterfield in the coaches' votes last week. Would you like to still see him in a Blues jumper, Murph, as he kicks towards half forward. Through the hands of Battle it goes. Picking it up. There is Wilkie for the Saints. Gives off a handball to Webster, to Marshall, back to Webster. He'll kick back around that southern wing towards Ridley, who outpoints his opponent Higgins and takes the mark for the Dons. Kicks a shocker, turns it over, and St Kilda come up with it.
Gresham takes the intercept mark, pokes it inside 50. Philippo the target, he's got two to beat. Hands on it, live footy, 20 out from the goal face. And Langford just soccers it out of the defensive arc. Saints still a chance to reload. Higgins collects, hand pass went straight to Setterfield. Bombers win it back. Kicks out wide, wanting to find Jones. He's in a wrestle there with Webster, and in the end, Jones inadvertently backheels it over the boundary line to throw in right on halfway, southern wing.
Not a great start to the second half, Murph.
No, they've
great footy to watch from both teams.
Not great from either side. And answering your question, Ben, about Will Setterfield, I'm happy he's getting an opportunity at Essendon, but I would like to see him still in the navy blue jumper.
Throw in neutral territory on the wing. Neither ruck decisive. Gresham onto the footy, loses it in a tackle. Picking it up, Marshall there for the Saints. Gets a handball away to Ross. Sweeps it forward to Windhager. Back feeds it to Hill. Now they're going forward down the wing. The kick goes inside, attacking 50. Bouncing ball, McGrath there for the Dons. Handball errant. Swooping onto it, Gresham. Gives it off to Philippo. His kick, indiscriminate. And the Dons are there, but they turn it over immediately. Straight to Burns, who snaps on goal. And misses maybe the lot. Out of bounds on the full and a let-off for the Dons.
If you're late getting back to your seat after half-time, maybe the queue for the bathroom is a bit long, or you had to go and get something to eat.
Haven't missed much.
You've missed 0 through the first 5.5 minutes of the third quarter.
Certainly not playing like two sides who are 2 and zip at the moment.
No. One of the teams, of course, will go 3 and zip. Hand pass away to Redmond, short kick to Durham, and that puts you on the right side of history. So since 2015, 88% of sides that start 3 and zip make finals.
Big number.
Yeah. Even you look at the pure maths of it, so gone to the 23 game season nowadays, you're probably going to need 12.5 wins, 13 wins to get there. You only got to win 1 in every 2 if you start 3 and zip thereafter.
Carlton 3 and zip last year.
They broke all kinds of records to not make it to the
they were in the 8 for every minute of the season, except for the last minute, from memory.
And you were right here to watch all of it on AFL. The Dons head down to half forward. There's a ball up there. There's Draper just double fist it forward, but straight to Stocker, heads back down the wing.
No mark taken. Owen's coming one way, heavily the other. D'Ambrosio, high free kick. What did you see, gents?
Well, wouldn't have a great... No, that's just a great contest, isn't it? I'm not sure about that. Can't penalise D'Ambrosio for that effort.
Great smother there from Durham, as well as Hunter Clark was about to kick the Saints inside 50. Ricochets out, a throw in between wing and half forward here for the Saints.
Young Mitch Owens sort of lost his footing really and almost fell into him, didn't he? So sort of drew the high himself.
Saints by 3 goals. Draper in front, reaching over Marshall, taps it down. Windhager dragged down in a shield tackle. Held up. We'll get a ball up alongside the logo. Members wing here at the MCG. St Kilda kicked the first 5 goals. They've only kicked 2 since.
Draper wins the hit out, controls it, hands it to Redmond. There's a free kick for a hold. She's coming back to Zach Merritt. The Bombers were out.
Yeah, almost better off given the way this second half started. Now that Saints will get their numbers back, better off taking the advantage there, the Bombers.
Free kick coming back for Zach Merritt, still at half back. We're asking your all-time favourite Sainter off the SMS. Just chuck your name on them when you text in. One directed at you, Bally. What about Max Hudson?
Great call. Great call.
Brendan Vola once calling him the hardest defender he ever had to play on. As Merritt goes back to centre half back to Ridley, and he continues the switch out to Laverty. Short kick up to the wing for Langford.
Yeah, very underrated player, Max Hudson.
And from Basel, so many. Trevor Barker and Barry Breen, of course, were the most famous. A memorable point in his second year to win St Kilda their only flag in this competition. Switch on back out to the northern side. Kelly takes the mark high half forward for Essendon. Hand pass to Zach Merritt. Takes some ground. Sends the kick to the hot spot. Jones the target. Webster just knocks it away with the spoil. Heppel clever. Paddles it to the advantage of Kelly. He's caught and lost it. Ball spits out. Philippou scoops it up. Hand pass to Gresham, who sends the Saints down the wing.
Bouncing ball, tracking it back. Ridley gathers in front of Caminiti. Gets a handball away to Laverty, who goes back to Ridley. He'll kick the Dons across half back. Spots up D'Ambrosio, and now they can go down the great southern wing. And the mark taken here by Durham. He just holds it up.
Just reckon he had to keep going.
Yeah, it did.
Chips it short to Shield.
It's almost as a result of no Essendon mids working hard for that next outlet. They sort of all just stopped really and just expected it to go long, but he just had to hold the ball up.
Shield drives Essendon inside attacking 50. Coming from behind, Wilkie fisted away. Loose footy, Menzie going in. He can't quite gather it. Stocker can for St Kilda. Gives it off to Hill at halfback.
Bradley Hill off the back flank. Kicks down the southern wing, straight to Redmond. Takes the mark for Essendon. He goes all the way back to centre half-back for Laverty. They're coming out the northern side. Kicks across the half-back line to Kelly. And Kelly pokes the pass to Dyson Heppel, the former skipper. Short left-footed kick out in front of Kelly, and he marks in front of the Essendon bench and just grabbing his right hamstring after taking the mark. Kelly had to stretch to take it. Looks straight at the bench. Sort of waves it off. And he goes back to Laverty, and Laverty chips short of Merritt, but St Kilda so well set up here, and Essendon have to try and work their way through the maze.
Laverty floats it inside attacking 50 and getting back. The mark taken there in the end by Clark. So Hunter Clark takes the defensive mark, kicks laterally to left half back, and Brad Hill's able to claim it. He did end up coming to the bench. Kelly wanted to stay out there, decided to come off. As the Saints chip it around, the kick from Webster can't quite find its target. Crouch will get the free kick though. So Crouch to have it just backward of halfway. Great Southern stand wing side of the MCG.
He goes on a bit of a run, Crouch, and then just drives his kick down to a contest at half forward. They come from all directions. Spills back underneath the pack. Up lets them roll. It comes out to Owens. Clean pick up. Hand pass to Butler. Sends a hand pass inside 50 for the Saints. Merritt had it. Tackled. Lost it. Webster feeds it through. Caminiti thought about handing it off. He shoots goalward. He misses. Near side and behind. For the third gamer. There's a conference here as to whether the ball went out of bounds on the full or through for a behind. It gives us a chance to check in with Lauren Borden, who's down on the boundary line in front of the Essendon bench. What can you say, Loz?
Well, Jake Kelly's now lying down, just getting a little bit of a massage on the right hamstring. So the physio wasn't too concerned, but he's now lying down and just getting a rub down at the moment.
Thanks, Loz. Immediately pulled up and grabbed his right hammy.
He's had 21 possessions, Jake Kelly. Might be just, I reckon that'd be a career high. Correct me if I'm wrong. We'll be heading up towards it, Corb. I might leave that one with you, but maybe he's just the body's not used to getting so much of the footy. 10 marks.
Scores level, by the way, at the showdown, as second half just about to begin there. If you want to follow along, the ABC Listen app, bottom right-hand corner, there's a magnifying glass to search AFL, and AFL Extra is the stream you need to click on, and you can listen to that game. There's still plenty to play out here at the G, though. St Kilda by 19 points. They'll get the behind, the arc confirming that. So St Kilda by 19, 12 minutes into the third.
Essendon quickly bring it back in towards the southern side of the ground. Aguilera a little 1-2 with Langford, then goes short to Durham. Durham goes back inside defensive 50 and Ridley marks. Stabs it short. Shield comes up and takes it.
This is sort of where they're getting a lot of their possessions. The half-backers of both sides, they're playing so wide, and the uncontested marks are just mounting up. They're just refusing to go through the corridor, but both sides are really just refusing to give up corridor at any rate here.
There goes Langford on a daring run. Now kicks towards Davey Jr., who goes up, brings it down. Now he'll wheel and go. Kicks the Dons towards half forward. Mark taken here by Perkins. Mark set 49 and a half out, so he wheels around from 50. He goes whack! His second of the night. Essendon get the first of the second half and continue to chip away at this St Kilda lead. It's back to 13 points. 7-6-48 plays 5-5-35. 13 minutes played in this third term.
Well, it's hard work, isn't it, Murph? It's really hard work for both teams at the moment. In the end, it was a good bit of overlap play on the wing here from Kyle Langford to take a player on and try and get over a line. But really, it was that contested mark in the end from young Davey over Wilkie that created the play, and he rolled on quick, which is the key to that, and spotted up Archie Perkins right on 50, and he was good enough to roll around and really flush it. He hasn't had a great night, Archie Perkins. I think he's only had the 5 or 6 possessions, but good enough to take his opportunity there, and they get the first goal. Finally get the first goal of this second half.
He's one of those players, Archie Perkins. He's got that X factor, doesn't he? He doesn't need a lot of the ball to really hurt you.
Saints by 13 points. One down in the middle by Marshall, straight to Crouch, who's tackled, dispossessed. Shield lays the tackle. Bombers fans wanted a free. They didn't get it. And then Shield's tackled by Crouch without the footy. He made sure just to put a little bit of extra mayo on that and got the call there. So centre break in the end for Essendon, and Shield and Stocker, the only one rising, takes the mark.
Brad Scott tearing his hair out. That's got to come to ground.
It's unforgivable, that. You've just got to get the ball to ground at very worst there.
Stocker comes out wide to Filippo. Good mark. Up competing with Langford in the air. And the 18-year-old is using his knee to protect the contact from Langford. Rips it down. Left half back for the Saints. Goes long to Owens. In from the side comes Ridley trying to mark. Knocked away by his own teammate. Burns for the Saints. Collects high half forward. Hand pass to Crouch. Kicks to the hot spot. Heppel leaping over the back. Butler in front claiming the mark. The ump says all have it. Initial touch by the Essendon defender and a ball up 25 metres out from the St Kilda goal at the City end. The Bombers, having trailed by 34, are within 13 halfway through the third.
Laying it down, Owens towards Filippo coming through. Redmond, a couple of intentional fumbles. Saints appealing for deliberate. Umpire says nothing doing.
He played it smart, Jack, against 2 there, where he put the arms out and made it very aware to the umpire that he wasn't putting any pressure on him, but getting the benefit of the doubt.
Lauren Borden on the boundary.
Jake Kelly now ready to come back on after a rub down on his hammy. He's pretty keen to get back on even though the ball's on the other side.
Thanks, Loz. Turnover here too as Brad Hill trying to take the intercept mark at a high half forward. Knocks it inside the forward 50 for the Saints. Just pinballs around D'Ambrosio and Redmond both with a touch. And in the end it's Heppel who hands it back to D'Ambrosio. The lefty out of the defensive arc. On the wing is Jones. Collects. Hand pass away to Setterfield. Not a heap up ahead for Essendon. Setterfield just kicks in hope down the line. In from the side comes Perkins, who takes the mark for the Bombers. Between wing and half forward. Looks inside 50. Durham's deep. Durham got the lead. Couldn't take the mark. Gee, big sit from Sammy Durham. Saints swatted away. Wanganeen Miller a gang tackled and Durham involved in that as well. Gee, there's a bit to like about him. He got some good hang time, Sammy. Couldn't quite rip it on the way down. Saints by 14.
Tried to contort his body. There's a free kick from the restart and it's going to the Dons. Harry Jones to get it. And this would really make the Saints fans nervous.
Just unnecessary contact there. He didn't need to do Not at all. Marshall, he's got the strength, he's got the ability to win that contest easily, but just silly sort of pushing the back, wasn't it?
He's got a number on his back in 23. It befits the big stage. 35 out. Jones misses. That sucks the oxygen out of it for the Dons. 13 points, St Kilda's lead.
He was goalless last week against the Suns. Just 1-1 for the season. You can make that 1-2 now for Harry Jones. He's 11 quarters in, playing up front as the Saints come out to halfback. Bombers chop it off. Heppel, a crucial touch. Got it to Perkins, to D'Ambrosio, and he hits up Nick Martin, who drops to his knees and takes the sprawling mark at centre-half forward for Essendon.
Well, these are probably the two guys that you want the ball in their hands. D'Ambrosio, Bally, I know you love the way in which he's playing at the moment. Great ball use, great decision, just great awareness of his teammate there and Nick Martin. And this is the other one he's probably missed 2 opportunities in the second quarter to kick 2 goals. He really needs to go back and put this through.
So Nick Martin to try and cash in on a bit of momentum for the Bombers. Through it goes. The comeback in the works. From 34 down, Essendon are within 7. St Kilda 7-7-49. The Bombers 6-6-42. 18 minutes played in the third quarter. And for the first time tonight, Essendon have back-to-back goals in the same quarter.
Just starting to win those 50-50s, aren't they? That was a crucial contest out on the wing. And the other thing they're doing is they're working hard to be the next number across. So the ball hits the ground and there's more Essendon players now than St Kilda players in that frame. And I've loved D'Ambrosio's game. I know, of course, he's a bit of Adam Sard about him, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
In his old number, and just the way he carries and runs and carries, and covers the ground. And then he's a beautiful kick in space. That was a great kick. Just drew Martin into it, didn't it? And he's been really good as well. Up to 17 possessions to go with his 1 goal. So game on.
Picked 4 of the last 5 now, Essendon from the restart. Draper wins the tap. Wood swoops onto the footy. Kicks the Saints back towards half forward. Play on touch, says the umpire. McGrath takes the mark, gives it to the goal kicker Martin. Sends it out to the great Southern Stand wing. Davey wants to keep it in. Right there with him though. Doing a good job, Stocker for the Saints. Little 1-2 with Clark. Then runs himself into trouble. Handball back to Hill. Hill will kick around the corner. Trying to find a target. No one can take the mark. Bursting through, Hunter Clark gives it off to Butler, breaks a tackle, runs to 25, time to steady, snap on goal, and return serve for the Saints. A couple for Dan Butler, and it'll just settle things for St Kilda. Back out to 13 points, 8-7-55, plays 6-6-42.
That's a great goal by Dan Butler, just put the Jets on and really backed himself in, looked over the shoulder and just shrugged him off and took a bounce or 2 and kicked the goal. But it was the outnumbering ball which you're talking about by Essendon. They're certainly coming, but it was that last contest where the ball had gone forward and Essendon had got numbers back, but they didn't really get to a man, and there was two Essendon guys who sort of trailed in their opponents, and it was Hunter Clark who drew the man and then gave to Dan Butler, and he finished off with a terrific running goal.
Yeah, it was Redmond, wasn't it, who left his opponent to come forward and try and impact the contest. And when you do that, you've got to get it out of play. You've got to clear the area, and it got behind him. And once Dan Butler's running downhill like that, he's almost impossible to stop.
Get the Laws in a minute. St Kilda by 13 points. Back in the middle. Draper wins the hit out. Tried to come away with the footy. Took on the tackler, caught. So the Saints fans roaring again as Crouch has got the footy and they're getting another centre break. He kicks to centre half forward. Competing Ridley could mark. Just beats Butler in the one-on-one there at centre half bank for Essendon. Short kick to Parrish. Hand pass to Merritt. He was hit late after getting rid of the footy. Got it out to Heppel. Advantage applied. Turns it over. Battle takes the intercept mark at half back for St Kilda. Lauren Borden on the boundary.
Ben Patton's just come into the game for the Saints, the first team to activate their sub for today with Zane Cordy coming off. Looks like Nick Hind will be coming on shortly for the Bombers as the sub as well.
I think that's a good move for both teams.
Yep.
So St Kilda have it through Battle. Low stab pass to Jack Sinclair. In the long sleeves. sidesteps his opponent, almost drops the footy, then kicks long towards half forward for St Kilda. Bouncing ball out the back. Butler trying to get onto it. There's a free kick. It's going to come back to the contest. Caminiti to have it.
See, that's a big call. I thought he just used his body nicely.
It didn't look like much, but he grabbed the jumper, which is a telltale sign to the umpire to pay the free kick. So initially didn't look like too much, but probably the right call.
Now, we saw last week under the roof that he's got this in him. Caminiti might be a different story here at the G, but yeah, doesn't go for it.
Just sets it up in the direction of Higgins. D'Ambrosio outpoints him, takes the defensive mark. His kick's a little iffy. Wanganeen Miller arriving, spoils Menzies. Loose footy forward pocket for the Saints. Going in Wood. Burns to, dribbles it. Higgins a fumble. He's got support. Butler toe pokes it through. Kicks his third. Shoves his opponent, D'Ambrosio, for good measure. And now there's a bit of afters in the goal square as well. But most importantly, St Kilda have a bit of breathing space. 19 points, 9-7-61 to 6-6-42. 22 and a half gone in the third.
Just two against the flow, and from mistakes really, from mistakes from the Bombers players. D'Ambrosio has been so good really. He's really set up this quarter from the Bombers. Took the terrific defensive mark, contested mark in his back 50, and just overcooked the kick, and it was Brad Hill. It's amazing how much, it's a couple of times he's done it this quarter, how much ground he can actually, was it Hill or Wanganeen Miller, that one? Yeah, but amazing how much ground you can cover and close, put the ball in the air, and it's a terrific spoil from him to set up that opportunity for Butler, who gets two in a couple of minutes.
Bombers got within 7. Saints back out by 19. Marshall wins the hit out. Crouch sockers it forward. Off the square comes Hind, almost caught. Shoots a hand pass over his shoulder for the Bombers. Got it to Parrish. Hand pass to Redmond. Kicks out wide. Hill and Heppel go at it. Heppel tries to keep it alive for Essendon. Knocks it back inboard. There's Caldwell. Hand pass to Setterfield. A fumble. Now he sits on top of it. He's in strife, holding the ball. Free kick for Seb Ross at half-back in the Saints. As we touched on, completely against the flow of play. St Kilda with the last two. Saints by 19 points. Time on third quarter at the G.
Seb Ross kicks along the edge of the square, and a good mark, Marshall. Strong pack mark from the Saints ruck. Now kicks a low ball inside 50. And a holding free kick against Higgins. It'll go to Kelly. So Jay Kelly in the right back pocket. They got within 7, the Dons. It's back out to 19 points. Kelly kicks to the wing, and Heppel's able to mark. Kicking's been the issue. Gives off a handball. D'Ambrosio running by. Sweeps a handball to Parrish, who loops one over the top.
Caldwell against the boundary line southern side. Swings his hand pass inboard to the skipper, Zach Merritt. Hand pass along the ground to the favour of Davey. Davey collects right on the paint of the 50. Kicks to the top of the goal square. Wilkie gets rid of Stringer, takes the intercept mark.
Oh, it's a big win.
Yeah.
Huge win.
It's a goal-saving mark for Kel Wilkie. Goes short to Ross, and Ross swings his kick out to Battle, who marks at left half bank for the Saints. St Kilda with the last two. They lead it by 19. 25 gone in the third.
He's been a pillar back there today, hasn't he, Wilkie? As the short kick from Hill to Wanganeen Miller. He stabs it short. Sinclair marks beneath the Shane Warne stand. Gives it off to Wanganeen Miller running by. He chips it short. Windhager. How about a mark? Excuse me. Second game of the day. Just catching up with me now. Windhager will kick around the wing. For a leading target, Caminiti, or Owens rather. He goes up and marks at left half forward.
Mitch Owens. Kick one already tonight, just lays it up to the hot spot, no mark. Laverty trying to come down with it, unsuccessful. Now off the deck, here's Caminiti, stands up with it. Shoots goalward, kick smothered. Great work, D'Ambrosio. Comes back to him. Hot hand pass to Setterfield. The Bombers trying to run it out of defence. Hands it to Martin, centre half back. Hand pass to Stringer. That means there's not a heap up a front, but perfect kick. Finds Davey, middle of the G. Hand pass a little loose. Tried to give it to Perkins. Perkins becomes tackler. Locks up Ross. Hunt says ball up, centre half forward for the Bombers.
Oh, geez, he was out, wasn't he? Yeah. Smart play then by Ross just to realise the situation and take the stoppage, but left one out there again, the Bombers.
Crouch able to get it at ground level, dribbles a kick forward. Hind onto it for the Dons. Gives it off to Merritt. Chisels the ball to Stringer. He takes the mark 55 metres out. Umpire sets him on the angle. Stringer will wheel around and go. Gets a Shepherd. Drives it low and long towards goal. No mark taken. Roving Patton. Handball back to Battle. He gives it off to Wanganeen Miller. Kicks around the boundary and McGrath halves the contest, spoils it out. Throw in 47 around from goal. Lauren Borden downstairs.
It's Harry Jones that's come off for Nick Hines. So both St Kilda and Essendon have activated their sub before heading into the three-quarter time break.
Thanks, Loz, both with a bit of speed. Nick Hind, his first game of the year for Essendon. And the boundary throw-in. Marshall knocks it down to Heppel, trying to dance to the track. Tackle caught. Holding the ball. Free kick for Brad Crouch. Meanwhile, in the showdown, Port Adelaide by a goal. It's been close throughout. 11-4 to 10-4.
Been pretty good, Brad Crouch again. Just does a lot of the grunt work, doesn't he?
Yeah, been
number one
strong in the
tackler
contest.
number one tackler at the Saints.
Crouch off the back flank. Owen sitting in front, almost comes down with it. No mark. Falls to Sinclair. Still in St Kilda's hands. Hand pass to Hill. Back to Sinclair. He just tries to burn off Redmond. Sinclair off the left. Kicks inside the forward 50, and Nick Martin playing in front
Good
takes
chase.
the mark.
Good chase, Mason Redmond.
Saints by 19 points as we close in on three-quarter time.
Martin will kick long. Looking for Draper out there. He's outnumbered. And Wilkie marks and goes for St Kilda. Back the other way. Kicks into the pocket in the Caminiti direction. Carries him. Pitches in play and out of play. On the bounce, we'll get a throw in. Left forward pocket. 19 points St Kilda's advantage. Very close to three-quarter time.
Bombers got within 7. The Saints kicking the last 2 goals. Having kicked the first 5 of the night, they've played in front the whole way. Draper wins the tap down to Martin. Hand pass to Parrish. Kicks one as high as the stands out of the defensive arc. And that'll do us through 3. So St Kilda 9-7-61, celebrating their 150th anniversary. They lead the Bombers 6-6-42. It's a 19-point spread at three-quarter time. The Saints, in the end, win the quarter, despite the fact the Bombers got within 7. Both kicking 2 goals in the term. The goal kickers to three-quarter time. 3 for Butler, 3 for Higgins. So the 2 small forwards with 6 between them. And then singles for Owens, Wood and Caminiti. While for Essendon, Archie Perkins has a couple. 1 for Shield, Stringer, Martin and Menzies. Three-quarter time at the MCG. St Kilda by 19. Scores level in the showdown halfway through the third quarter. So 11-4, 70 apiece. Looks like a pretty good game. Hasn't been too wide all night. If you want to follow along, the ABC Listen app is the place to go. Just search the magnifying glass in the bottom right, AFL. And click on the ABC AFL Extra Stream and you'll be able to get the full call of that game if you choose. 0437 774 774, the SMS number. We're looking for your all-time favourite Sainter. I'll tell you a few more of them next on Grandstand AFL. It is three-quarter time at the G on ABC Radio, Sport Digital and through the Listen app. Look out for the AFL button. This is Grandstand AFL.
Welcome to Sydney, 1983.
It was the hedonistic queer haven.
Come on, people!
That turned dark.
Something is killing gay men.
Are you referring to AIDS?
Where fear was infectious.
Our kids are not safe.
But courage was contagious.
So many of our friends are getting sick.
New ABC drama, inspired by real events.
We have a choice.
In our blood.
The world needs beautiful things right now.
Sunday nights on ABC TV and streaming on ABC iView. Grandstand AFL.
Now streaming every match on the ABC Listen app.
Look for the AFL button.
Kicks the Dons towards half forward. Mark taken here by Perkins. Mark set 49 and a half out, so he wheels around from 50. He goes whack! His second of the night. Essendon get the first of the second half and continue to chip away at this St Kilda lead.
Bombers chop it off. Heppel, a crucial touch. Got it to Perkins, to D'Ambrosio, and he hits up Nick Martin, who drops to his knees and takes the sprawling mark at centre-half forward for Essendon. So Nick Martin to try and cash in on a bit of momentum for the Bombers. Through it goes. The comeback in the works.
Bursting through, Hunter Clark gives it off to Butler. Breaks a tackle. Runs to 25. Time to steady. Snap on goal. And for a turn serve for the Saints. Wanganeen Miller arriving, spoils Menzies. Loose footy forward pocket for the Saints. Going in Wood. Burns two. Dribbles it. Higgins a fumble. He's got support. Butler toe pokes it through. Kicks his third.
The 2023 AFL season.
On radio,
ABC Sport Digital.
and now streaming on the ABC Listen app.
Three-quarter time at the G in the Saturday nighter. It is St Kilda by 19 points, 9-7 over Essendon, 6-6. The SMS, Stephen Grubb Theodore got his nickname because he excelled in the wet. The kind of gentler bloke you would never meet. And that's from Declan in Colac, his nomination for his favourite Sainter. Brian Sirakowski as a child because he had the same number and position as me, number 13 in the back pocket, from Marcus in South Melbourne. From Ian in Terrelgan, favourite Saints Ross Smith and Stuart Trott. And from David in South Freo, Bruce Duperoozle. My favourite player at Claremont, and then with the Saints back in the 70s, they
Great
had
name.
Yeah, they had a sister team back in the 70s. So the Claremont players would go along to play for St Kilda. So
yeah, right.
There's the nom. He was a spectacular player too. Took some big marks, and yeah, so I'm told anyway. But former Claremont footballer, and obviously with the Saints as well. Three-quarter time at the G. We'll get Ben Cameron's favourite Sainter in a moment as well. The Saints by 19 points at three-quarter time. Mark Murphy and Luke Ball.
Yeah, Ball. It was an interesting quarter. It was quite probably boring at the start. It really wasn't. There wasn't really a lot of punches thrown from either side. But halfway through the quarter, you looked like Essendon were really coming. They were playing the more attractive brand. The momentum was certainly on their side, but it was a couple of little errors that sort of let them down. A couple of good contests from a few St Kilda players that brought about their 2 goals in a row that really swung the momentum back on their side a little bit. But it looked like it was going to be a pretty even contest, but Essendon are still, they're 28 clearances to 19. Their disposal going inside 50 has still been the one that sort of really hurt them. They didn't really make the most of their opportunities in that quarter. They've only had the 4 marks inside 50 for the entirety of the night, and St Kilda, conversely, have only had 7 themselves. So both sides are probably lacking on that little bit of polish going inside 50, and the ones who have got that polished, you need the ball in their hands more. I know it's probably your man now, D'Ambrosio, that you want the ball in the best ball user's hands because they obviously inevitably hit the target, but that's sort of been the one area of the game that's sort of let down both sides really, but more so Essendon.
Yeah, we were just chatting there, weren't we, about both teams' sort of lack of fluency in their ball movement going forward. It's looked okay at times, but that quarter in particular was really stagnant, and the game was played between the arcs a lot. And look, you put Peter Wright in at the Bombers end, and you put Max King and Memory at the other end, and it gives them more of a target, doesn't give them more incentive to get the ball down there a bit quicker. But so you could probably let them off the hook a little bit from that point of view when at one end you've got a lot of inexperience in the Saints forward line. Caminiti, we know he's showing a little bit, and Owens is showing a bit, but there's no real big key focal point at the other end. Harry Jones has been subbed off now. Wiedemann hasn't had an impact on the game, and neither has Jake Stringer across the game, given his first game back. So you let them off the hook a bit for that, but I think you're right. The team that can, because the game has been reasonably open, as I said, it's been played between the arcs, but the team that can get the ball in the hands of good users. I mean, you certainly favour the Saints at the moment, obviously. If they can put 30 minutes of pressure on, you think that they should get away with, get the job done here. It looks like Langford's going forward, is he? Yeah, I think that's a good move because he's one who, we saw it last week, who can certainly hit the scoreboard and be a match winner for the Bombers. They need to try something a bit different.
Saints by 19 points. Essendon won only 2 games last year, coming from behind at three-quarter time. They got plenty of work to do. Draper out of the middle, just keeps it in front of him and then picks it up and gets the clearance. Bangs it deep inside 50. Bouncing ball in front of Stringer. Had it, lost it. Spills out to Langford, who's in the forward 50. Hand pass back to Merritt. Jeez, miskicked that. Puts it out on the full. After such optimism for Essendon out of the middle.
I was hoping there was going to be shades of that goal from last year from Sammy Draper, then bursting out of the centre square, but would have loved him to get the ball and take him on, but got the ball forward, the big fella.
So Dougal Howard with a long kick towards the wing for the Saints. No one there to mark it. Picking it up at the back, Sinclair. Off they go through Wood. Non-preferred kick, a turnover. Mark taken by Ridley. Ridley kicks short. Finds Laverty. Comes infield to McGrath. McGrath at halfback. His kick a little dodgy, but it's able to be marked by Setterfield, who gives the handball back to the runner McGrath for Essendon. Kicks into the middle of the ground and Martin marks.
Swings a kick out to the wing for Nick Hind, who's fresh on the ground. Marks 60 from home, pokes the pass inside 50. Davey got a crucial touch on it. Forward pocket, Caldwell trying to collect. Caldwell from the pocket, kicks a ripper. Picked it up, chucked it on the boot in the same motion and slots it from a tight angle. The gap closes to 13. St Kilda 9-7-61, Essendon 7-6-48. And a real spark with the goal of the night for Jai Caldwell.
It was probably their best ball use of the night. They built the ball up through a couple of contested marks, and it was the overlap handball from Setterfield who gave it to Andy McGrath, which then opened up the game and allowed the forwards ahead of the ball to just come at the carrier. And then it was just take what the opposition gives you, and they had frees ahead of the football, and then just a bit of individual brilliance from Caldwell, who hasn't had a big night stat-wise, but it can be his last quarter. And what a start for him, just throwing it on the boot there and kicking a really miraculous goal from the right-hand side pocket.
Draper in the middle, lays it down for Shield. Floats a kick out of the congestion towards half forward. Hill swoops on it for the Saints. Gives a handball to Webster on his preferred left. Chisels the ball looking for Crouch. Setterfield spoils. Crouch recovers at ground level. Handball back to Webster. Kicks the Saints to the wing. Shield spoils this time. Picking it up, Patton. Handball to Sinclair. Now the Saints go forward. Handball over the top to Butler. He kicks down the wing. Ridley gathers well on the bounce for Essendon. Here they come back the other way through Hind.
Hind pokes it out in front of Martin. Collects on the half volley. Loops a hand pass to Perkins. 70 out at half forward. He goes long in the Stringer direction. Hits him on the head. Bounces off his bounce. And Langford finishes it off. The header from Stringer. And the soccer finish from Langford. What coat are we at? The Bombers with the crucial goal, and they draw within 7 points again. St Kilda 9-7-61, Essendon 8-6-54. Grandstand AFL, Mark Murphy and Luke Ball.
Well, there you go, Murph. He's been playing forward for 2 minutes. He's kicked the goal off 5 last week. So what's taking you so long, Brad Scott? But Nick Hind's had an impact, hasn't he? He's a perfect sub, really, isn't he? You know what you're going to get from him, and he's been involved in the last 2 passages of play. Nick Martin's been superb all game. I think he's probably been the Bombers' best player. He's just such a smart player, such a good user, and the penetrating kick. And look, Jake Stringer in form probably takes that mark, doesn't he? But we're through the hands, or you reckon it was on purpose? You reckon he had the over-the-back header?
I think it's a header.
You're going to give him the credit for that goal assist, fair enough. And Langford on the spot.
Stayed onside too, Langford. Out of the middle come Essendon. Here's Durham. Going long on his left towards full forward. Stringer might have been held up by, says play on. Webster fists it out. We'll get a throw in. This game has come to life.
It was a defensive pressure along this wing, that last passage of play, Bally, where Essendon just refused to give the uncontested mark to St Kilda and just force their way back through the corridor. It was just great skills going forward.
From the throw-in, knocked back boundary side by Marshall. Webster kicks off balance and sends it out of bounds on the full.
Well, I think it
might have been touched.
Yeah, boundary throwing.
Took a little ricochet, so we'll get another throw-in.
Mark from Caulfield off the SMS. Greatest Sainter of all time was Kenny Whiffen, runner and head trainer for 50 years.
Great call.
You can tell us more about Kenny in a moment. Bally from the boundary throw, and it comes St Kilda's way as Wilkie hand pass out to Crouch. Kicks from half back down the wing. Owens just gets rid of Redmond, takes the mark. Illegally set the umpire free kick for Redmond. Ball not returned back on the full. Umpire gives him the benefit of the doubt. Redmond goes and collects it and just pumps it deep inside the forward 50. In the pocket, Wilkie and Howard both trying to mark it. Neither do for the Saints. Stringer wants to keep it alive. Hands it back inboard, but straight to Battle. To Burns by hand. To Crouch. St Kilda still inside the boundary line. Battle took on the tackle of Merritt. Ball comes out and Burns just bangs it long up to the wing.
Looking for a contest here. It's trickled out. A little soccer coming from Owens. Umpire gives him the benefit of the doubt. We'll get a throw in.
Game on here. Saints by 7, but Kenny Whiffen, Bally?
Oh, yeah, just lifeblood of the club. Yeah, trainer. Used to give a great massage and strap a great ankle, Corb. Ripping bloke. Good boxer too, he was.
Oh, Marshall trying to take it out of the ruck. Gains some yardage on the little dribble kick. Wood steals it from Ridley. though Ridley returns with a tackle, knocks it out to Setterfield, who gives it back towards a teammate in Redmond. He kicks across the defensive edge of the centre square, and Hind is able to mark for the Dons.
Hind kicks out to Nick Martin. Burns arriving late. Martin takes the mark. Essendon with a bit of pep in their step. They've kicked the only 2 goals of this final term. Martin may have been winded in all of that as he's just hunched over and goes short with the kick to McGrath. Says not 15, play on, closed down by Hill. McGrath kicks in hope to half forward. Caldwell's up and out marks Wanganeen Miller. Gee, he came from the back and the side, worked his way to the front and pulls it down. Now he's headed inside a very congested forward 50. Caldwell's just going to lay it up in the Wiedemann direction. Gee, Mason Wood just punches it away 30 metres out of bounds. And a throw in forward pocket for the Bombers. Saints under pressure. They're stagnant on 9-7-61. The Bombers on the move, 8-6-54. Saints by 7 gone final term.
Forward 50 stoppage here for the Dons. Can they find a goal? Draper taps it down. Crouch though for the Saints. Ball spills free. Caldwell onto it. Snaps on goal and misses. Boy, he's come to life in this final term. Jai Caldwell hit the post in amongst all of that. There's a Saint down as well. Jimmy Webster it is, who's a little sore, and we'll just hold up play for the kick in here.
No, he's looked sharp, Jai Caldwell, in this last quarter. He hasn't had a great night, but this last quarter he's hit some contests at pace and just been there and actually made some good decisions with ball in hand. But sometimes it's not your night, but you can still make your moments count when you get that opportunity. That's what he's doing so far in this last quarter.
Oh, yeah, clash of heads with Dougal Howard there. Hope he's okay.
She's had no luck. Jimmy Webster missed a lot of games last year, had a broken hand after the round 1 game against Fremantle, so missed last week, back in tonight, and now a heavy collision, and he's got the trainers around him about 20 metres out from the goal at the city end of the ground, in which the Bombers are peppering. So St Kilda 9-7, Essendon 8-7. Saints led by as many as 34 points in the first term.
Corby, you've said a couple of times that one side's going to be 3-zip after tonight. Are we sure?
Yeah.
Sure that it might not be 2.5. It's got that sort of feeling about it, hasn't it? Certainly since quarter time, it's been very even, hasn't it? So it's got a bit of that feeling about it.
You know about draws, Bawley. Wanganeen Miller will take the kick in. Runs to the right back pocket. He'll kick long out towards the wing. Knocking it down, caught behind Owens. Loose footy now. Trying to pick it up, Clark. Shovels out a handball. The Rucks are there. Tapping it, Draper. Down towards Perkins. Kicks Essendon back inside 50. Spoiled away by Wilkie. Caldwell onto it with a spin. A little pirouette. His handball errant. Wilkie's wrapped up in a tackle. His turn to pirouette. Umpire says no prior opportunity. Ball up. Left forward pocket here for the Dons. They're coming with a rush.
Lauren Borden on the boundary.
For Jimmy Webster, I think it's a nose issue. So you can see the blood coming out of his nose. He was just holding a towel onto it.
Thanks, Loz, from the restart. Wiedemann hands it out to Caldwell. He's kicked from one pocket. Caldwell's kicked it from the other. He's outdone himself. First the right forward pocket and now from the left. Falling out of play, chucks it on the boot and it floats through for a miraculous goal. We're all knotted up. And we'll start again at the 10-minute mark of the final term. 61 points apiece. What a finish off the left peg from Jai Caldwell.
If I promise you, I was about to say, where's Jai Caldwell? Yes. Stoppage. He's playing like a man inspired, isn't he? He really was. He didn't have much an impact at all on this game in the first 3 quarters. Yeah. He's been injected into the forward line, really, and he's looked like the most dangerous forward on the ground.
He's playing with a lot of power, isn't he? He's hitting contests and just bursting, and I'll tell you what, he's kicked 2 from the pocket, of either pocket, and 2 floaters.
He didn't mean that one, that's for sure.
Shocking bounce back in the middle. Umpire puts it aloft. Draper straight down to Parrish. Handball to Merritt. D'Ambrosio coming off half-back. He kicks out towards half-forward, sliding out, low down. Durham thought he'd taken the mark. Umpire says play on. And it's held in now. We'll get a ball up. Ross Lyon, arms crossed. Looking cross.
Up it goes. Draper palms it down to Durham, who's caught immediately in a ball up. Three-quarter time in the showdown, Adelaide by 3 points. So we've got the close one, lads. Scores level 11 minutes into this final term. From the restart, spits out to Durham's advantage, took an unkind bounce, scraps out after it, hands it to Merritt. His hand pass went straight to Hill, defensive side of the wing. St Kilda back with it, hand pass to Wilkie, away to Sinclair, kicks down the wing, turnover, Jake Kelly floats through, takes the intercept mark.
That's super, Kelly.
He goes short to Parrish. I had a look earlier, Bolly, all-time high of 28.
Okay.
Which I was surprised about. He's on 23 tonight.
That was way off. I owe him an apology.
He goes to Parrish, and Parrish kicks down the wing, and Sinclair takes the intercept mark, the All-Australian halfback, and the long sleeves for the Saints. St Kilda led the game by 34 in the opening quarter. Scores a level now, 12 gone in the last.
Here comes Patton, bursting, kicking long towards half forward for St Kilda. Roving is Filippo. Gives it off to Marshall. Kicks into the pocket. McGrath and Gresham. Over their heads it goes and out of play. Throw in the right forward pocket here for St Kilda. A chance to respond.
That's a good one-on-one match up that, isn't it?
Yeah.
Gresham and Andy McGrath.
Be watching this boundary throw-in as well on his left foot, Jay Gresham.
Scores level, boundary throw in deep forward for the Saints, punt right end, out the back it comes to Hind, he's tackled, trying to get a kick away, Higgins mowed him down, says play on, back into a pack of players, McGrath extracts it, gives it to Hind, short kick, Davey drops it, paddles it away to the advantage of Martin, soccers off the ground but straight to Marshall, dives forward, takes the footy, gives it to Burns, hurried kick inside 50, turnover, and Andy McGrath with the intercept mark for the Bombers. Scores level, 13 gone, final term at the G.
Andy McGrath goes back to Ridley, top of the defensive goal square for the Dons. We'll bring it to the right back pocket, D'Ambrosio. Picks off a nice kick to Heppel. Gives off the handball to Laverty, running by. His kick, a turnover. Wood marks for the Saints, quickly back the other way. Caminiti at left half forward. Marks on his chest. Looks inside 50. Nothing he likes. Called to play on. So goes for a little run. Now kicks towards full forward, and the mark taken by Higgins. It wasn't the best kick from Caminiti, but Higgins was all alone and takes the mark.
It's already kicked two from this exact spot. Two, Penny. I dare say he's going to go and snap it around, I reckon, just like the previous two.
Looking for his fourth. The Saints take back the lead. For Jack Higgins. They're out by a goal. 13 minutes into the fourth term. 10-7-67. Plays 9-7-61. Here on Grandstand AFL.
It's the unforced error again, wasn't it? They're in complete control of that footy coming out of half-back, the Bombers, and it was Jaden Laverde. Just not sure you want the ball in his hands as much as you do a D'Ambrosio or a Redmond or even a Nick Hyde, who's come in and injected some life into this game as well. But just kills you, doesn't it? Mistakes across that half-forward line really catches you out of position in terms of that front 50. And Jack Higgins, he's had one of those nights as he's really fallen in his hands a couple of times. He's been good for the Saints.
Mateus Filippo attending the centre bounce here. I'm not sure that was by design for the Saints as the bounce favours Marshall, a crooked bounce, and umpire Stevick will throw it up again. Lauren Borden on the boundary.
Well, poor Jimmy Webster, after coming back from injury, that's his day done. He's on his second serviette, I guess, for how much blood is coming out of his nose, so he's done.
Thanks, Loz. Wiedemann wins the hit out, gets the centre break, kicks it straight to Stocker. He's taken a few intercept marks, Stocker. Uncontested, he's got it here at centre half back for the Saints. So St Kilda by a goal. Long kick out to Mason Wood, who leaps up in front of Durham and pulls it down.
His 10th mark. What a career renaissance this has been for Mason Wood.
It's like the perfect sort of winger, isn't he?
It's staggering to think that he's not playing at North Melbourne, isn't it? Really, they let him go.
Wood goes back to Wilkie. Wilkie from one back flank to the other and finds Dougal Howard.
Howard chips it short. Now to find Patton. A little unsure of where to go next. Kicks around the boundary and Marshall's able to mark. St Kilda down the great southern stand wing. Sweeps a handball over the top to Patton again. Looking for a leading target over the head of Caminiti. Kelly's at the back there for Essendon. Gives it off and Ridley tucks it under the arm. Goes for a little run. Kicks out and Wood Marks just forward of the wing for St Kilda.
Here he is, the smooth mover off that beautiful left peg. Hits up Gresham in the forward pocket. Mason Wood covering the ground and delivers it beautifully. It's a Gresham in space in the forward pocket. So the Bombers got within 7 in the third quarter. The Saints had it back out to 19. They got even here. And St Kilda with the last, trying to double up. Gresham snaps across the body to hold the Bombers at bay. 2 in a row for the Saints. St Kilda restore a 12-point lead. Essendon have not led for a single minute tonight. 17 gone final term. The Saints by a couple of goals.
Well, it was another error, really bally, and your man Mason Wood, who went back with a flight again and took a great mark. Typically the wingers are your fittest. And if you find a winger who is obviously a great runner but got that height where they can have those marks where they can support the defence or get hard forward, they're worth your weight in gold. And Jay Gresham again, I think he just read that quicker than most and just scooted forward, and
yeah, he did. Yeah,
no one really went with him.
Yeah, it was Wood again. I mean, it's Jordan Ridley was trying to create something. He's been superb himself, Ridley. He's taken 14 marks, so you're trying to make the play, but Wood was good enough to cut it off.
Can Essendon come again? Shield with the centre clearance. High ball towards half forward. Trying to rove at ground levels, Heppel, but Patton beats him to it. Handball over his head. Stocker goes short. Crouch Marks on the wing. Gives it off to Stocker, cruising by again. Kicks to half forward. Gresham comes up and marks for the Saints. Kicks inside, attacking 50. Higgins is there. Ridley comes across. Crucial fist. Sends it out of play. A goal-saving spoil. And we'll get a throw in left forward pocket for the Saints. They lead by 2 goals.
Second half's been superb, Jordan Ridley. Him and Jake Kelly been terrific back there for the Bombers.
Still only halfway through the quarter. St Kilda by 12. Bombers did draw level earlier in the term. The Saints with a bit of momentum here from the boundary throw in. Caminiti grabs it out the ruck, sells a dummy throw, a rugby pass straight to McGrath. Says play on. McGrath kicks out a defensive 50 for the Bombers. Perkins outnumbered. Sinclair trying to sit on top of it. Perkins wins it. Wrestles it free. Hand pass out to Davey, trying to shield it for Parrish. They all scrap for it. Umpire lets them roll. Wood hands it out wide, and 2 wide for Gresham. Boundary throw in, 50 out from the Saints goal. In the showdown, we just ticked into the final term. Adelaide by 9 points, leading Port. 12 points St Kilda's lead here. 19 gone in the fourth quarter.
Throwing on attacking 50 for the Saints. Bringing it down Owens. Handball out from Hunter Clark. Owens dribbles a little handball away to Crouch. He's tackled, just gets a handball away. Shields gets it back there for Essendon. Gives it off to Hines. Kick partially smothered.
What a tackle.
Now a strong tackle from Durham there on Ross. And a ball up just backward of the logo on the wing.
You're right, Sammy Durham. He's one of 3 guys the Bombers have picked up in the mid-season draft. They've got 7 playing tonight from other clubs and 1 in pre-season selection. There he is, hard at it again. Crashes into Wood. Wood wins the footy though. Kicks inside 50 for the Saints. Ridley goes the spoil. Spills down underneath Kelly. Hand pass to Redmond. Oh, some hesitation. Windhager got him. It's holding the ball and a free kick for Marcus Windhager. And Redmond just hesitated. The ball was knocked out of his hands in the Windhager tackle. And now a free kick for the Saints inside 50. And man on the mark stands 45 metres out from the St Kilda goal.
It's been a little bit out of sorts tonight, Mason Redmond. Just a few of those critical errors have resulted in goals. He's been such a consistent player for the Bombers over the last couple of years. He's probably arguing reasonably too that he wasn't properly tackled then, but opportunity to push it further ahead here.
Windhager sets sail. He's got it. The Saints have seen off another challenge from the Bombers. St Kilda by 18 points as we tick into time on in the final term. Marcus Windhager with his first of the night. Saints by 18 points. Luke Ball, Mark Murphy.
It was almost like he missed his hand trying to handball the ball. I'm not sure the free kick was probably there, but you're right, Ball. He's been terrific, Mason Redmond, for the last probably 24 months, but today's sort of battled a little bit. You have those games sometimes, but I just feel with 8 minutes to go now, Essendon probably have to get to that stage where they've got to throw a little bit of caution to the wind and try and come through the corridor at all costs. They haven't really got their corridor game going whatsoever tonight at any point, Essendon. So they've really got to score quickly here. They've got to try and pull this back within a couple of goals in the next couple of minutes here, because Saints are really coming at the moment.
Draper hooks it down. Parrish gets it on the boot, smothered by Ross. It bounces back to him. Saints quickly back the other way. Kick inside 50. Kelly drops the mark. They're at all sorts now, Essendon. Spills out to Gresham. Snaps on goal and misses. Handy point. 19 points. Now will be St Kilda's lead.
They've chased the game all night, Essendon. There's only 8.5 minutes to go. Saints by 19. And with plenty of momentum, the Bombers work it out of the defensive arc. Kelly hand pass to Martin. Martin kicks inboard, turns it over. Phillippo with the intercept mark. Saints played in their front half. Hand pass away to Ross. Inboard to Wanganeen Millera. Just got a kick away. Slides off the boot. It'll work out here for Dan Butler. Collects it half forward. Snaps across the body. And the party continues. The Saints now by 25 points. As wide as it's been since the second quarter. Butler with 4. Joins Higgins as the leading goal kicker tonight. And the small forwards have run roughshod over Essendon's defence. Saints 13-8-86. Essendon 9-7-61. 23 gone final term.
Yeah, they have. Dan Butler, who's, well, it's looking like becoming a bit of a coach favourite. The way he's started his year, he's obviously had a good pre-season, and amazingly the harder you work sometimes, the more rewards you get. And it was Nick Martin that time, but I think he's been the Bombers' best player tonight, Murph, who was trying to create something by bringing the ball back inside, didn't quite hit the kick, and again, teams will just kill you on the turnover across half forward if you do that.
4 for Higgins, 4 for Butler. Back in the middle. Crouch with the clearance out towards the wing. Hill in pursuit, arriving Hine just soccers it forward for Essendon. There to pick it up, Stocker. Handball overshoots the target. There in Burns, and a throw in on the wing. So out by 25 points, 23.5 minutes into the final term, St Kilda.
2-point game in the showdown. 5 minutes into the final term. Adelaide lead Port Adelaide by 2. Call available through the ABC Listen app from the boundary throw-in. We'll have another ball up. And another stoppage. Essendon drew level in this final term. 2 incredible goals for Jai Caldwell. One in either pocket at the city end. But from that point on, the Saints have flexed and come again to kick the last 4. For the third time, we'll have a stoppage on the southern wing. Up it goes. Draper grabs it out of the ruck. Quick hands from Merritt to Parrish to McGrath, trying to take on the tackler. Hand pass back inboard, got to Parrish eventually. He threads it through to Shield, feints to hand pass and then just kicks inside 50. Trying to win a one-on-one. Perkins, he goes to ground. Clark, his direct opponent, wins it. Hand pass to Patton, away to Howard. Untidy kick out of the defensive arc.
Just a high ball. Spoiling it down, Kelly for the Dons. Under pressure, getting a handball out, Shield. And now onto it. Here is Stocker, quickly back the other way, the Saints. Handball to Higgins, to Caminiti. Back to Stocker, back to Higgins in some space on the wing. Kicks a spiral. Truly is party time. Looking for the man, Gresham. Bumps his man out, gives it off to Hill, who'll whack it through. And the Saints blow out the candles on their 150th birthday cake. 14-8-92. They lead the Dons 9-7-61. 25 minutes into the fourth term, they lead by 31 points.
Well, Dan Wall's certainly been busted open, ball. It's been fun to watch this last 10 minutes. It all sort of started with a turnover on Essendon's front, but you've got to hand it to St Kilda, because Essendon was certainly coming, and they've really responded, just got the basics right at the right time when the questions have really been asked of them. And it's been their small forwards which have really been lively most of the night, but in this last quarter it's been, as Benny just said, then a bit of party time, hasn't it, this last little period. And great for all the St Kilda fans here tonight celebrating, obviously, the 150-year celebration. And to have a win like this would be awesome for the footy club.
But their running power too, hasn't it, Murph? That's certainly one thing that this, they're establishing a brand here with Ward and Hill on the wings and Sinclair.
They're going forward again. Caldwell coughs it up in the middle to Ross. Hand pass away to Windhager. Kicks inside 50. Out to meet it, Kelly. Bursts onto it for Essendon off the back flank. Hand pass from Parrish away to McGrath. Trying to burn off Hill. Advantage applied. Free kick behind play. Caldwell up to the wing. Hand pass to Setterfield. Little quieter tonight. Kicks wide for Perkins. Marks 70 from home. He's going to have to get back on his right peg. He does so. Kicks to the top of the goal square. Draper reaching for it. No mark. And Howard in the end happy to swat it through for a rush behind. Saints by 5 goals neat. 27 gone final term. We've been talking about our favourite Sainters throughout the night. The 150th celebration from Grant in Sydney. Lenny Hayes go the Saints. We've had a couple of nominations for Lenny, of course, now in the coach's box. There's Ross Lyons, right-hand man.
Marshall in the back pocket. He kicks towards the wing, a turnover. Redmond, no, there's a free kick. Owens to have it. So Owens will kick towards half forward. No mark taken there. Crouch coming through. Has it stripped behind. Little 1-2 there with Heppel. Now kicks into the middle of the ground and Wiedemann low down. Gives it back. Here goes Hine through the middle of the ground. Kicking towards the wing. Kick partially smothered. Ricochets out to the logo.
Burns there for the Saints. Hand pass over his shoulder, but straight to Davey Jr. Gives it to D'Ambrosio. Kicks to half forward. This is Merritt. Marks plays on immediately. Goes long to Draper in a 2-on-1. Wilkie walks straight to the front. Spills the mark. Ends up out of play in a boundary throw in forward pocket for St Kilda. For Essendon, rather, at the City end. Inside the final 5 minutes. Max off the SMS. This is what happens when you fall too far behind too early. All of Essendon's efforts were to get back in the game, and now it looks like they're spent.
Yeah, certainly that poor first quarter.
34 points behind before they scored, the Bombers. Oh, from the boundary throw in, 2 Dons collide. Perkins bounces into Davey Jr. Davey a little slow to get up. Comes out to Philippou of the Saints. Hand pass to Burns. He gives it to Sinclair. And the Saints walk it out of the back 50.
Will goes short. A good kick. Finds the target. Leading up. Ross up at a mark. Seb Ross chisels a ball around the Great Southern Stand wing. Off hands at the back. Windhager loops it over the top. Here's Hill kicking St Kilda inside 50 again. Trying to get there. Patton gathers on the bounce. Loses it in a tackle. Umpire says play on. Kelly there for Essendon. Handball to Parrish. Handball to D'Ambrosio, who kicks to the wing. A good kick. And the mark is taken there by Wiedemann.
Oh, Wiedemann hands it to D'Ambrosio. Called for it. Had a player sweating on him. Lost the footy. Now Redmond picks it up. He's spun around by Ross, taking the ground and a ball up on... No, holding the ball. I think that's what we call a team holding the ball. There was a couple of chances there, and in the end, Redmond is going to be pinged. Ross takes the free, heads across the ground. Mark to Wilkie, goes all the way back to Wanganeen Millera. St Kilda lead it by 30 points. The crowd posted at 69,255, which is an all-time record for a St Kilda home game at the MCG. They haven't had one in 7 years. As Battle and Patton try and play some kick-to-kick, and in the end, Langford just picks their pocket. Kicks it back inboard for Essendon to Draper. Hand pass away to Perkins. He goes long to Stringer in a 1-on-1. Getting across to help Battle. Crashes into Wilkie. Live footy forward pocket for the Dons. Howard picks up his mowed down by Nick Martin, who's had a good night. And he wins the free, a metre in from the boundary line at left half forward. Martin's going to straighten up and find Parrish a little closer to goal. St Kilda's last home game at the G was 7 years ago, back in 2016. Interestingly, they've only played here before tonight 14 times since.
7 years ago, their last home game here.
Last home game at the G.
Amazing.
Yeah. And only 14 games since. As Parrish knocks it through for the Bombers. Saints lead cut to 24, but it's all obligatory from here. 31 gone, final term. St Kilda 14-8, Essendon a 10-8. The Saints are going to go to 3-0 for the first time since 2010.
Ooh. There you go. So is that 14 times they've played the MCG in the last 7 years?
As the away team, yeah.
Yeah, right.
And if you're asking sort of, so what does that mean? By way of comparison, Port Adelaide have played here 14 times since. Yeah. West Coast 15, GWS 16. So they've played here fewer than a couple of the state teams.
There are a few finals probably, though, those interstate teams. But it's amazing, isn't it, that they don't get to play here at all, really?
Yeah.
Are they able to request more games here? I mean, they obviously have tonight.
Yeah.
You feel like, why would they? Because, I mean, this is where you need to be playing your best footy, really.
Yeah, it is.
In the middle. Knocking it down, Marshall. Ross just hacks it forward. Bouncing ball going after it. McGrath gets there first for Essendon. Handball away to Setterfield on his left. Kicks around the boundary line. Coming up, Perkins. He drops the mark. Through his hands out of play, and we'll get a throw in on the wing.
Because the dimensions of the ground are so different than what the Marvel is. So your style of play, if you're always having to play either interstate or at Marvel Stadium, you want to have the opportunity to play out here more, so you get you guys having experience playing the type of football you want to have on the MCG.
From the throw in. Tracking it at ground level. Shield runs onto the footy. Kicks around the boundary line towards half forward for Essendon. Coming out to meet it strongly. Stocker gets a handball away to Ross. Back feeds a handball towards Sinclair, and now Hill. He'll kick forward of the wing. Trying to come up and gather the football there is Kelly, but it spits out to Gresham, who just tumble punts it inside attacking 50. Bouncing ball, tracking it back, Redmond, close to the boundary line. Handball away to Hind, and Hind will kick beyond defensive 50.
And then knocked away, though, by Hill, who's arriving late just to stop the marking attempt from Kelly, and out of bounds it goes. So a boundary throw in here, half forward for the Saints. And next week, the Gold Coast for St Kilda. Another winnable game at Docklands Saturday night, so that'll be us again. Meanwhile, for Essendon, they play at the Docklands as well. They've got the Easter Sunday fixture up against the Giants. Winnable games against the expansion teams, if we can still call them that, for both the Saints and the Bombers next week. Heading down the wing, the Dons, and in the end, Langford's marking attempt is spoiled out of play, and a boundary throw-in just forward of halfway for the Dons. St Kilda by 24 points, 14-8 to 10-8. The Bombers haven't led all night. St Kilda kicking the last 5 goals in the game. 5 of the last 6.
Umpire brings it back in. Marshall in front. Brings it down in front. It spills to Draper, though. Gets it on his right boot. Kicks Essendon inside attacking 50. Wiedemann can't take the mark. As Saints arrives, Stocker will get a free kick. So Stocker in the right back pocket. We'll have it for St Kilda.
Been good tonight, Liam Stocker. I think he's competed really hard and also got on the offensive side of it as well. Been involved in some good link plays through the corridor from that half-back flank.
Physio just coming over to have a chat to him, or the doctor. There's a blood rule, and Seb Ross will trudge off. Blood spilling from behind his ear.
It's been good too, Ross. Just unheralded. Does a lot of the grunt work. 44 possessions, 9 tackles. 4 clearances, 10 contested possessions. Good solid inside mid today. Plus a bit of claret.
Stocker kicks back towards the wing. No mark paid, a lot of hands on it. Sinclair trying to pick it up. He eventually just knocks it out towards Hill. Hill will kick around the boundary line for St Kilda. Trying to find a marker there in Windhager. He can't complete it. McGrath at ground level for Essendon. Gives it off to Laverty, who will kick forward of the wing for Essendon.
Laverty goes to a contest. It spills down to Parrish. He picks it up, lifts a hand pass over to Heppel, puts it inside to Shield, who finishes on the run and threads it. And Shield's second to the night. And the Bombers making the scoreboard look a little prettier towards the back end, but it'll be a St Kilda win. 18 points the Saints lead. 35 minutes gone in the final term. Essendon to 11-8, St Kilda 14-8.
He's been serviceable tonight, Dylan Shield. Kicked the 2 goals, which has been good, but sort of haven't really noticed him too much around the ground. He's certainly played a role through there, but probably like most of the other midfielders of Essendon, they sort of were coming for a little bit, but just haven't quite had their sort of measure that I thought was going to be their real advantage tonight. I thought they were going to be a lot stronger through the midfield than St Kilda, but St Kilda's mids have really stood up. I think being led by Brady Crouch. Stewie Lowe getting a bit of airtime on the TV.
Oh, buckets low, back in the middle. Draper taps it down. Clearing kick coming from Crouch out towards half forward for the Saints. Redmond onto the footy, knocks it back towards the wing. Martin will get there first. What a way to celebrate your birthday. 3-0 win the Saints. Big winners over Essendon. They win by 18 points.
When the Saints go marching in, oh how I want to be with St Kilda. When the Saints go marching in.
So they started with 5 goals to begin the game. They led by 34 points at the 17-minute mark of the first term. Essendon challenged. They drew scores level in the final term, but they kicked 5 unanswered goals to establish the win. So it was the Smalls that did it. Jack Higgins and Dan Butler with 4 goals. Owens, Gresham, Caminiti, Mason Wood, Marcus Winhager, and also Brad Hill, all with singles. And then for Essendon, Perkins, Caldwell and Shield with a couple. Nick Martin, Langford, Stringer, Parrish and Menzies, all with singles, as St Kilda win by 18 points to go to 3-0.
First time since 2010. What a way to celebrate St Kilda. They just burst out the blocks like they've been shot out of a cannon. As Ben mentioned, the first 34 points, and Essendon were competitive thereafter, but the game was always an uphill battle for the Bombers after giving away such a significant head start. So St Kilda 3-0 under Ross Lyon, with Gold Coast to come next week. Even without Jack Steele, that injury list has been as long as your arm all season, and St Kilda still undefeated through 3. The initial thoughts of our experts, Mark Murphy and Luke Ball, on Grandstand AFL.
Well, well-deserved win, really, Murph. Set up in that first quarter, obviously. They set the tone with their hunt around the contest, so their work inside, and then just their ability to run. I mentioned at the end there, they are establishing a brand now. We know what they're like defensively, but they are a hard-running team, and it's led by the guys on the wings and the flanks, isn't it? It's Hill, it's Wood. You know, I think if you've got 2 good wingers these days in modern footy, and you can just leave them out there for 98, 100% of the game.
Yeah,
it's a good start, isn't it? And those guys are playing to their strengths really well, and complemented by some grunt with Crouch and Ross, and then a bit of class with Gresham, and obviously those small forwards. They got on the end of it tonight and reaped the benefits, and they're finding a way to kick a winning score. I think that'd be the pleasing thing at the moment. We know that they're gonna hang their head on a defence first brand, so they've been able to restrict the Bombers to 11 goals from 19 shots. So that's a win. But what would be pleasing, the coaching staff and obviously the supporters, is their ability to be able to manufacture a winning score at the moment through some, not having King and Memory there, through some small forwards at times, through some medium-sized forwards. They're finding ways to kick winning scores.
Yeah, I agree. I think they've almost kicked 100 points tonight, and you're right. I think Ross Lyon will be really impressed by the way in which they're still finding avenues to kick goals, because once these tools come back in, if they can find that balance of going in long and strong and giving an opportunity for Max King to kick those goals. Memory's more of a lead-up, sort of up towards a wing type of football, but is really good out of the box as well. To be able to have those small guys around who we know can kick goals, they're very clever, they make the most of their opportunities. It's a pretty dynamic forward line when you get those key targets back into your side. Then you mix that in with some of these young guys who are really doing a good job at just bringing the ball to ground at very worst. Last week they got together and probably kicked 8 between them, those young guys, in terms of Mitch Owens and
Philippou,
Caminiti. So to have the mix of those young guys getting an opportunity at the moment without Max King being in there, and Max, we talk like he's an experienced player, he's only a young kid himself, but he's got enormous upside and huge talent that no doubt will be around for the next 13 or 14 years and play a lot of good football over that period as well. So they're exciting times to be a St Kilda fan.
Yeah, we've seen in the last 2 weeks, haven't we, Merv? And they get a really even spread, don't they? It's hard to pinpoint the best on ground. They're getting a really nice and even spread. And again, that's another signature of Ross Lyon coach teams. That they celebrate the role players. Everyone in the team knows the role that they have to play. And they know that if they play that role, that they're going to cement that they're going to keep their spot in the team. So, and you're seeing that across the board with contributions over the ground. I think that was the difference today. The Bombers, had some good players across the 4 quarters. They'll rue the start, that first quarter. They were just they didn't come. They didn't come to play. They weren't switched on. They were off defensively. They allowed way too many uncontested marks. Those easy goals in that first quarter. That's a bad sign, isn't it? So. I'm sure they'll go back and review that first quarter pretty strongly in Brad Scott. In a sense, you've got to give them credit the way they fought. I mean, from that point onwards, they've outscored the Saints, haven't they? And they had moments, and halfway through the last quarter, scores were level. But perhaps they'd spent their tickets trying to get back into the game. And in an AFL footy, league footy, if you give a team that much of a head start, it's going to be pretty hard to peg it back and go on and win it. So credit to them that they fought back and gave themselves a chance to win, but against this hard-running Saints team, they were always the petrol tickets were always going to come into it, I think, and in the end they ran out of gas.
They got a makeshift forward line. Their best player and multiple-time All-Australian Jack Steele's obviously missing tonight. But they went without him. I mean, you talk about the trademarks of Ross Lyon teams and the next man up sort of theory, and it feels like everybody knows their role to play in the broader system, and it sort of doesn't really matter who's unavailable at the moment because the guys that are out there are lockstep.
It's a great point. We didn't mention Jack Steele missing, which is probably an indictment on us, because he's a dual All-Australian and obviously skipper of the football club. But it was up for the other guys in that midfield to really fill that void tonight. And I think they all did that as a collective and were really quite strong on there. You look through the stats and they got beaten in contested ball, but I thought it was more just the contest from and away from the stoppage, which I thought they were sort of they were better for longer throughout the night. They were certainly much better at the start of the game, and then the way in which they finished off the game. Essendon asked them a lot of questions in that last quarter, and they were sitting there even, and we thought, well, maybe the Essendon are going to run over the top of them here, but to their credit, they fought hard and came back really strong and just put them to the sword for probably 7 or 8 minutes in that last quarter.
They were 8-3 at the halfway mark last year. They clearly didn't sack their coach. They just re-signed because they felt like they were just a bottom 10 team. So I know they've got a long injury list, but they clearly feel like they're capable of more for what they've got, and they've gone out and got a coach specifically who has a reputation of getting the most out of whatever group that he coaches. He did it at St Kilda. He did the same thing at Fremantle with arguably less talent and able to get a bounce out of them straight away. And at the end of his second season, they played in a grand final. But I don't want to run it too far ahead because I know Ross won't, but you look at the teams that they play twice in particular. They play Gold Coast, North Melbourne and Hawthorn twice. So as much the fixture as anything is, you got to play every team, we know that, but the teams that you get your double-ups against, and already that, St Kilda would start a significant favourite in those games if they were played tomorrow.
And you feel there's some guys on that list at St Kilda who are walking taller for, obviously Ross Lyon's backing them in and giving them confidence. And we talk about Mason Wood. I reckon Brady Crouch has looked really, really solid this year and playing some good football. And Bradley Hill is probably another one where there was a lot of question marks whether or not he was worth the money to come across. But you can just see he looks like he's enjoying his football playing underneath Ross. And that's the effect of having a coach who you feel that there's guys who are just happy playing football again and looking like they're a lot more confident in their own ability.
And that's the interesting thing with the injury list. So there's 13 on it. And Ben and I had this conversation on our show during the week. How many of them come straight back into the team? So there's a lot of guys that are kind of in and around on the fringe. So you've clearly got Steele, you've got King. Mackenzie's playing career best footy on a wing, so he's obviously out. Membreys are big, and they don't have a lot of them at the moment. Caulfield's obviously a very talented kid. But then a lot of the other guys are sort of on your fringe type players. Zach Jones, Billings. It's sort of... I'm not sure they're so reliant on that real top-end talent like other teams.
No, I agree. Yeah, and I think a couple of those certainly come back in, and King's obviously the focal point. He's got that point of difference, but even memory, you look at the side tonight. I mean, who goes out of that sort of forward mix? I mean, it's probably an Owens type or a Caminiti, isn't it? But they haven't done a lot wrong, have they? They've played their role well and contributed to this first 3 weeks. So it's a nice problem to have. And we know that the best teams build deep squads of 30, 35 players.
Just quickly, the Saints just heading down into the rooms now. They were forced to wait for a long time because Caminiti was doing basically a victory lap, high-fiving everyone left in the ground. And then he stopped to hug people and everyone was standing there going, come on, mate, I'm ready to go into the rooms.
Might be the big Italian fee. He might have had 30-odd family members here. You had to get to every one of them and get a photo with every one of them. But so they should celebrate. It was a big day, big night for the club, and the team did them proud.
He wasn't even on a list, Caminiti, at the start of March, and now he's played in 3 wins in his first 3 AFL games. The Saints 3-0 for the first time since 2010. Let's get into the winners' rooms as the Saints are making their way in. What a way to celebrate their 150th anniversary. Lauren Borden is in the rooms for us. Loz.
Oh, it's a fantastic atmosphere here. The smiles haven't left anyone's faces. Even Ross Lyon, when he came in, was happy to accept all the handshakes and the grins. All the supporters here and all their different scars. You've got the old knitted ones and the newer ones from the more modern era here as the Saints come in to sing their song with the collared shirts around, just to hark back on the history of the 150 years. Here they go.
When the Saints go marching in, oh, when the Saints go marching in, oh, I want to be a Kilda. Oh, when the Saints go marching in, oh, when the Saints go marching in, oh, when the Saints go marching in, oh, I want to be a Kilda. Oh, when the Saints go marching in.
Still with us, Loz?
Yes, I've still got you.
Oh, who's your favourite all-time Sainter? We've been asking, obviously, our call team and everyone on the SMS throughout the night. Anyone come to mind?
I'd have to go Fraser Gehrig. I think just when I was younger, he used to scare me a little bit, actually, as he towered out of the forward line. So Fraser Gehrig's got to be one of the most memorable ones for me.
He scared all of us, Loz.
Yeah, the big G train. That's a good nomination. We'll come back to you in a moment, Loz, and get some more reaction from the St Kilda rooms. Interested to see Andrew Bassett, the president or the chairman of the St Kilda Football Club, shaking some hands. And then next to him happens to be Brendan Goddard. Of course, former captain of Essendon and managed to play a few handy games for St Kilda in his time as well. Now part of the coaching unit as a development coach and not in the team clobber, I noticed.
Yeah, no, he was at the function tonight.
I'll let him get away with it then.
I've had a win, so down the rooms he goes.
He would have gone to either winning rooms tonight. No.
Yeah,
Ben.
No. He wouldn't. We know assistants aren't allowed in.
Correct.
To other clubs'
right.
dressing rooms, so he wouldn't have.
That's a rule we're doing now in footy. The full-time St Kilda winners by 18 points. Your favourite all-time Sainter, Ben?
I've already said mine. I never said mine, did I?
No.
Darryl Wakelin.
Okay.
Darryl Wakelin.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a good night.
Over Shane?
Yeah. No, I did a bit of work with Darryl. He's a good man.
Just liked his closing
Both
speed.
good men. Yeah. I see Shane a fair bit. Both very good men.
Yep. That was very St Kilda late 90s, wasn't it, with both the Wakelins and early noughties?
Was Clint Jones, was he South Freo? What was he?
He was. He was South Freo into St Kilda, of course.
He famously won a Sandover. a Simpson medal, wasn't it? Cool.
Great footage that, isn't it?
Yeah. So they caught him up and he said, I didn't think I played that well today. Best on ground in the grand final. No, you didn't. We've called out the wrong name.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Handled it beautifully, though.
Yep. There's a strong rumour going around that was often played at St Kilda as well.
It still is.
At certain team meetings. If we're looking for cult figures in the history of St Kilda Football Club, Gavin Mitchell, who played for Fremantle and St Kilda back in the day, had the quivering mustache and used to play for Fremantle, came and played for the Saints. Interestingly, he was a central figure in one of the most infamous moments or not infamous, but one of the most interesting moments in AFL footy where Peter Carey, the umpire, took the mark.
Yep.
In the game against Fremantle at Subiaco Oval, and Gavin Mitchell actually hugged the umpire as if he was going to tackle him. I did like that as well. So shout out to Gavin Mitchell, who I'm sure is listening. 0437 774 774. Tell us your all-time favourite Sainter. There's also a game currently being played in Adelaide. And it's interesting to see in the fourth quarter of this game that the Crows have pulled away. So 18-9, 117. They lead Port Adelaide 13-8, 86. So they've just left Port Adelaide in their wake. The Crows are off and leading the match by 31 points. In fact, they're shaking hands. So that is full time. 31 points. Adelaide have beaten Port.
Wow.
Which is interesting, Mark, if you were to get an early season gauge as to who you thought maybe would have been the better team out of South Australia. And at the moment, both teams are on one win and the Crows look 5 goals better than Port.
Yes, well, we had this discussion, didn't we, Corby? So obviously this is why you bring it up with a smile on your face. So I thought Port Adelaide, I still think, well, not so much probably after tonight, but they would play finals this year. So they're just very consistent side at the moment, aren't they? Their best is very good and really exciting, but then they have games where they just for whatever reason they just can't put it together. Put games together in a row where they play some really strong football and get some wins.
You'd have to say that Adelaide's effort is more consistent at the moment.
It is.
You know what you're going to get more from the Crows, week in, week out than Port at the moment, which is a credit to how the Crows are building again under Matty Nix. But it'd be frustrating for Port supporters because we have seen their best be electric, haven't we? But
well, you look through their list and there's a lot of talent on that list, especially some young talent as well, and you mix that in with some senior guys, more so through the midfield, that they should be really competing hard and being a top 6 team, really, I think, by judging their list. But for whatever reason, they just can't string wins together and put in a shocker, don't they, sometimes?
Gee, they talk an enormous game too, Port Adelaide, and after round 1 and all, this is the Port Adelaide way, and a big sort of second half comeback against Brisbane, and all of a sudden they've lost 2 on the bounce, overrun by the Crows. That Adelaide really with a dominant victory in that final quarter, so 18-9 over Port Adelaide, 13-8 full-time in Adelaide at the showdown. Here at the MCG, it was St Kilda by 18 points over Essendon. We spoke last week, Paulie, about Jack Steele as a captain, and Ben asked Jack a number of questions about his relationship with Ross after their round 1 victory over Fremantle. And essentially, to summarise that, he said, look, Ross really challenged me when I came back as a captain. And obviously now we know in the aftermath the damage that Jack Steele had to his collarbone last week. But I imagine if you're trying to endear yourself to a senior coach and he's trying to live up to the fame of Pavlich and Riewoldt as these great captains that Ross Lyons had in his tenure, to all of a sudden go back onto the ground and lead in that fashion last week, and they win without him tonight.
Well, it's amazing to think that he came back on, isn't it? With not just an AC joint, but a broken collarbone. I mean, we know he's a very, very tough player, isn't he? And I think the game was reasonably in hand, wasn't it?
Yeah,
at the time?
Which is strange. Why?
Yeah, so maybe that was it. Maybe it was. Rui broke his collarbone early on in Brisbane. I think we all remember. He didn't come back on after that. So maybe he's thinking, I'll get one up on the ex-skipper here. But hopefully he didn't do too much more damage. Yeah. But he didn't look right, did he? Remember he went for that ball and there was clearly something wrong. But I don't think there's ever going to be any question about Jack Steele's courage.
That's right. Yeah, he's one of the tougher competitors out there, and he's been terrific over the past 2 or 3 seasons. Really just gone into a real A-grader, hasn't he, in the competition?
But yeah, absolutely. I think, paraphrasing a bit, but Ross made that comment that I'm used to, I've come from Riewoldt, Pavlich, Fife, you're a good player, son, but there's way to... And I think he's probably had a similar conversation to a lot of players. I mean, even Max King and guys like that who potentially, we know I've got lots of talent, and potentially to this point have trained in a certain way. He will lay down the challenge for them to get better and train harder. There's no doubt about that, which is only going to be a good thing for those young players.
The allegations, or it's a bit of consternation about whether it happened, but supposedly he said, look, Jack Steele, 8 out of 10 leader, 8 out of 10 professionalism. We need 10 out of 10 from our captain. So the Freo players always tell the story. He'd ask them down in Tasmania, who's done their recovery today? And a few hands didn't go up. He said, I reckon if it's good enough for Lenny Hayes and Nick Riewoldt, I reckon it's good enough for you, Lee Spur, and I'm not sure who else.
Ted Diamond, maybe.
Can you do the rest of the broadcast in your Ross voice?
I didn't mind it.
I love Ross's stories.
Talking at the side of his mouth too, I didn't mind it at all.
0437 774 774, the SMS number. If you've got any late entries for us, your all-time favourite Sainter and why. Full-time in the showdown, Adelaide by 31 over Port. And here at the G tonight, St Kilda by 18 points over Essendon. So the winners today, Hawthorn by 19 over North, Carlton by 10 points over GWS, the Saints over the Bombers tonight, and the Crows over the Power in the showdown, with 3 games to come in this bumper round 3 of the AFL Premiership season. The Saints, we love these broad, open-ended questions with no obvious answer, but how high is their ceiling, do you think? So if they play the Suns next week, and all of a sudden you win that, you're 4-0. What are they capable of this year?
You mentioned the draw, and sometimes you do get a few favours from the draw, and you're right, they wouldn't want to look too far ahead. I think take the win-loss out of it, what they will be keen to do, and you can argue they were 8-3, as you said, but what they'll be keen to do across the whole season is establishing that brand that we're talking about of being really hard to score against, really hard to play against, really hard to score against in particular. So can we be top 4 in the comp in defence? So points against, using that as the proxy. And then we know we'll get talent back and we'll work on our offensive game. I think they've shown signs that they're prepared to go and attack and be a bit bolder and use the corridor a bit more, because we know that the best team's doing that. Collingwood at the moment, if they're the benchmark, that's how they're playing. So you're going to have to do that to beat these top teams. But if we can build a brand around defence, and I'll mention again this running power that they've got. So you're going to have to play 4 quarters to beat us, because we're going to keep running and working and chasing and running forward as well. So where that takes them, who knows? We don't love what we're seeing with the Lions at the moment in terms of their consistency. You mentioned Port Adelaide. These are the teams we probably had in front of. We certainly had in front of St Kilda. So already for mine, based on consistency of effort, they're ahead of those teams, I think. So that probably has them fighting out for a spot on the podium.
You're right, because
the top 8.
There's probably a lot of teams with a lot of question marks, like the Bulldogs. You probably throw into that as well. There's a lot of questions on them leading into Thursday night footy, where they played a good brand against Brisbane, but then we ask the same questions of Brisbane, don't we? Like you just asked then. So you're right. I think if Ross, you hear him talk about, we want to try and add layers to the game, and I feel there's going to be an offensive side of that, which I think he's going to bring in too. I think previously it's all been about defence, but I get the feeling by listening to the way in which he talks, there's an element of offence and backing the skills of his players, and you just see that by the way in which some of them play. So I think it's more of a well-rounded looking side at the moment. We're only 3 games in, but you're certainly starting to see an identity, and I've got no doubt that's what Ross Lyon will be trying to bring to that footy side.
Just chatting to BJ and Lenny, I've seen a few times. I think one thing he's done, this time around is hand the reins over to his coaching staff a lot more, and particularly around how they play and attack from. So I think. And now winning helps that. If they were 0-3, perhaps he takes the reins back a little bit. But I think his ability to do that, what we're seeing now is the Harvey influence. And Harvey has come from Collingwood. Is potentially the Enright influence who's come from Geelong. So I think we're going to see a little bit more of other systems in the way the Saints play.
That was long the criticism of him, and I noted during the week he's so keen to shout them out as well.
Yeah, we hear plenty of mentions about his support crew. Ross Lyons, Saints, the 2.0 version, are now 3-0 to start the new season, an 18-point win over the Bombers. Full-time in Adelaide as well, the Crows by 31 over Port Adelaide. Into the winners' rooms, Lauren Borden is downstairs with Brad Crouch.
Thanks, Corby. Yes, I've got Brad Crouch. What a wonderful night, and you celebrated it with a win. Some players say they can't sense the atmosphere out there, but when you've got the biggest home crowd that the Saints have ever had, and you've got past players watching on, can you feel that out there?
Yeah, we can. We knew in the lead up to the game it's a huge week for the club. It's been very exciting seeing a lot of the past players around the club and around the rooms today, and when we ran out, they were all lined up for us. So it was a great day, and it was awesome playing at the MCG again and in front of a big crowd. We don't often get the chance to do that, so it was really good to get the win.
There has been the build-up during the week for the 150th game. Was there anything just before the match? Did you have any players come speak to you just before it?
No, not just before. I think being such a big week, I think Ross was pretty keen the last couple of days for us to knuckle down and really focus on the game. And in the past, we hadn't had a great history in milestone games, so we were a little bit sceptical about that. So we tried to keep things the same, but it was obviously there's a few of the old players around here now, which is good to see, and hopefully we're going to have a beer or two with them at some stage.
You've now gone 3-0 up to start the season. Ross Lyon likes to keep you in those meetings for a little longer than some coaches after the match. What is the message that he tries to impart after the game?
He's a lot of what he says is just about sticking to our process of unwavering process for us. Like we understand that we're a team that needs to improve a lot to be competitive, and we need to be at the top of our game just about every week for us to win. We understand that, and it doesn't help that we've got some injuries as well. So he definitely keeps us back down to earth pretty quick. So I think that's really good for the boys, especially when we've got a lot of young players in the group at the moment as well. But he's very positive tonight.
The Bombers did make you work till the end there. You got up by 34 points early in the match, and then they came back. Scores were level in the last quarter. Then you were able to tear away. What was it like in that in the final quarter when it got tense?
Yeah, it was good. It was probably a little bit of a sense of calm with us. We felt that early in the game we were doing a lot. We had a lot of things set up in the game where it was set up for us to win, and it was a little bit frustrating at times. We felt they were kicking some easy goals and some frustrating goals for us, but it was good that we got on top of them late in the last quarter and felt like, we really back ourselves in fitness-wise. We think we're a really strong running fit team, so we've got that in our corner and we sort of draw on that a bit.
Well, thanks for your time, Brad. Congratulations on the win and on your own game tonight as well.
Thank you. Cheers.
Thanks to Lauren Borden and Brad Crouch in the winners' room. St Kilda home by 18 points. Brad Crouch, the chief possession getter on the ground with 32 touches. He also had 8 clearances to go along with it and 4 inside 50s. The votes in the ABC Footballer of the Year, Mark Murphy has them. Murph.
Thanks, Corby. I gave one vote to Callum Wilkie. I thought he was fantastic for most of the night. I thought he was really, really strong in that first half. I thought he was one of the premier defenders on the ground, so I gave him my 1 vote. 2 votes to that man, Brad Crouch. I thought he really stood up when Jack Steele, obviously missing, being the skipper of the football club. It sort of all came onto him, but also his other midfielders around him. But I thought he was fantastic tonight. I know Corby just mentioned he had the 32 disposals, had 6 tackles and 8 clearances. He was terrific all night, had the 4 inside 50, so got the ball in and under amongst the packs and the clearances and got the ball forward. But my 3 goes to Ballie's man, Mason Wood, who I think has added another cog to that list at the moment. He's working really hard in defence and being a really great link player and really strong on the air. So Mason Wood gets my 3 votes.
3 for best winger in the comp at the moment.
Yeah, 3 for Wood, 2 for Crouch, 1 for Wilkie in the ABC Footballer of the Year. Enjoy the F1s tomorrow, Murph.
Any Corby.
And children's birthdays for you, Bally.
Cool, yeah.
Enjoy it. Luke Ball, of course, former Saint. Thanks to Ben Cameron. You'll be at the F1s too.
Yeah, Murph and I will be together. Looking forward to it. Thanks, Corby.
Thanks to Jules McKenzie, to a cashback in the studio, to Lauren Borden downstairs, of course. St Kilda by 18 points over Essendon. In the showdown, it was Adelaide by 31 points. Grandstand AFL Sunday from 12 noon Eastern Standard Time with daylight savings ending. Chad Wingard will join us on the